Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Kick the 1-2. Swing and a miss, struck him out, and Texas wins it. 3-1 the final, and Game 3 belongs to the Rangers.
No one is sitting at Crypto.com Arena. Anthony Davis has the ball, throws it opposite side. Christian Wood to D'Angelo Russell for three. Got it. Huge spree by Russell, and it's turned into a three-point shootout.
Jalen, pull-up three is good. Timeout, West on Celtics. Celtics defending, and they are scoring in transition, and they are raining down an ugly night here on the Wizards on their home floor. It's 73-39.
First down from the 27-yard line of the Raiders. Goff takes the snap, gives to Gibbs, bounces through a hole. There it goes outside 20. Gibbs, 15, Gibbs, 10, angling to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, baby, what a run. What a run!
Goff started to his left, and he's picked. Intercepted by Marcus Peters. Able to stay in bounds. He's gone. I see no flags. Touchdown Raiders.
All right, obviously excited for this week. Proud of the guys with the win last week. Things we want to do this week to improve upon. Excited for the game. Excited for the chance to play against Michigan State. On a personal note, excited to coach against, Coach Barnett. He's one of the good men in football for many, many years. Kind of young guys like me look up to. Spent several years there. Was at Florida State. I think what he's done for his alma mater. He was an All-American there. He's a great player there. What he's done for his alma mater, stepping in and filling the void, I have a lot of respect for.
It's exciting. Welcome in on a Tuesday morning. Good morning on a happy Halloween here.
This is Halloween.
On Hurrdat. What is that, Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yeah.
This is Halloween. We can only sing so much, otherwise we'll get fined. Good morning and welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
I don't get fined.
All right, Marshawn, go get some Skittles.
Yeah, where's my Halloween candy?
Listen,
Shane,
did you bring us Halloween candy, Shane?
I really got to be careful on what I say about that. So
is that because the Raiders lost last night and Riley Patterson scored as many points as Las Vegas?
You talking to a ghost?
No, I'm talking to you.
Maybe. Who knows? Is Shane really here?
Well, yeah, you're right, because we have not heard his voice one time. But I can see him.
That's all right.
He could be like Casper the Friendly Ghost.
I think he would be.
He's over here raising his hands to the sky because
he's trying to warm up.
It goes through the ventilation system up here, and Shane just like underneath one of the vents, just like, please warm up my little fingers.
Just trying to have a little bit of fun.
He's just he's Shano the vaping ghost over there. I think that's what we have.
You're the cigar guy.
Yeah, we've got my going full gangster here. I had the hat, but it doesn't really fit over the.
Put it on top of your
top of the headphones.
Yes. No, that doesn't.
No, it was a little balancing act there. We got Coach Lasso. He had to.
I'm Led Tasso because I lost my mustache.
He shaved the mustache. I got a pair of aviators going to have to put on to go full Led Tasso for us here. But that's all.
Just be a goldfish.
Yeah, just be a gold.
You know what?
Just forget about that.
Shane,
just forget about that mustache.
Shane, do you want to know what the happiest animal on the planet is?
What is the happiest animal on the planet?
It's a goldfish.
Why is that?
10-second memory. So, Shane, be a goldfish.
Selfish.
But don't forget how to produce the show. That's the key.
And that's totally on me.
Shane, belief in yourself. I believe in hope. I believe
here's
the best you can be.
Here's what it is.
Here's
what it is when it comes to that game, because it's like I've got a prompt. Shane, go, and then you're like you're trying to figure out where to start with that, and then by the time you start with it, you're like 7 seconds in. And so that's the reason why it's like, okay. I mean, if it was like a 20-second game, I could easily get those.
Shane, all I'm hearing right now are excuses.
Kind of like we heard from Dabo Sweeney last night. He's yelling at fans.
Nobody can do that.
Hey, you can apply for my job.
We'll get to Dabo later. We've got a good show for you here today on Hurrdat Sports Radio on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We are also on Twitter, YouTube, and all of those places on the internet. A good show for you here today. Coming up here at 7:30, because it's the only time we could get him, because it's been a little busy around Iowa football yesterday.
Can I just say one thing before you add this?
Absolutely.
We luck out every single Monday.
A lot, yeah.
Because Ravi and I sit after the show and we're like, all right, let's try to plan out the week. Like, who should we talk to?
Yep.
We want to give you guys some good Big Ten information. So we look across the schedule. We try to find the best game. This week was
little iffy.
So I just kind of made the comment of, what if we talk to Iowa, because them and Northwestern have the lowest
total
over under total that we've seen in a long time, at least in the modern day.
Yeah.
And you know, reluctantly, because nothing else was
there's just nothing on there. Yeah,
we're like, okay, that's
what
what we're going to do. And come to find out, an hour and a half later, Ravi, take over.
Yeah, so Andrew texts me, I don't know, around noon, and goes, hey, are you hearing anything about this Brian Ferentz thing? And I'm like, I'm hearing a lot. I don't trust much of it. And so we're kind of digging around, and finally it comes out that, you know, it seemed like, okay, is Brian Ferentz retiring or resigning right now? Is he getting fired? What's happening? So it turns out he will be done at the end of the season. So he will finish out the year, but he will be finished at the end of the season.
Which I guess makes sense. I mean, Iowa,
regardless
they're
of what
in a bowl
happens.
Game,
yeah.
So you got to at least let him run his course.
Yeah.
But they came nowhere close to the threshold that he had to hit at 25. They're only averaging 19.5 points per game.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, like, yes, it looks like 6 points on paper. That's a lot of points when you know you can make that up quickly in a football game.
You should be able to, right? But 6 points for Iowa is Mount Everest, basically. The interesting thing about this whole thing, and we'll get into it with Scott Dochterman of The Athletic at 7:30, but the interesting thing about this whole thing is there's two direct correlations here that I find interesting. Number one, what does this mean for Kirk Ferentz at the end of the year? Because I believe we talked to Scott earlier in the season, and he believed, or maybe even before the season, he believed that if Brian Ferentz gets let go or is forced out, that Kirk won't stand for it and he'll move on as well or retire or whatever. Do we think that's still on the table? Because that's an even bigger story than Brian Ferentz leaving, right?
Yeah. To stop you there for a hot sec, the only thing that I really thought about in that moment when the interim AD came out and released a public statement about this whole thing was Iowa's getting in front of the Ferentz run the school.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting in front of that by saying, like, no one man is more powerful than this university.
Because Barta, the former AD, kind of was okay with that.
Yeah, he was just like, hey, man, like, you go do your thing. You're winning football games. You're making money for the school. Yeah. This is fine. Now Iowa is kind of taking a new direction, shifting a little bit in the sense of, no, let's take back control, and we want to be the one that oversees the operation, not you.
And listen, sometimes that can be good, sometimes it can be bad, because a lot of times if things are working, then you've got a situation where you've got somebody who didn't build the thing that's working, who now wants control over the thing that's working, and they ruin it.
Well,
right?
and Barta and Ferentz were in hot water just a few years ago.
Yep.
When it came to the strength and conditioning coach mistreating
Chris
athletes
Doyle,
on the football field.
And then you also had kind of a scandal involving Brian Ferentz with some racial stuff that, you know, they all went to racial sensitivity training or whatever happened there. It all just kind of went away. But for a minute there, it looked like everybody was in hot water there too. So, you know, as a school and as a university, they probably wanted more oversight, which is totally understandable.
Which is why I think you got what you got yesterday.
But if you're Kirk Ferentz, you go, hey, I've been operating on my own, kind of being my own boss here for, you know, in reality, because Gary Barta was never going to fire him. Like, he's been operating kind of with autonomy for the last 20 some years. And now he's like, oh, well, I'm not, why do I have to answer to this person who's not even the full-time AD? They're an interim AD. But part of the thing that was interesting, other part that was interesting yesterday, outside of the, okay, what does this mean for Kirk, is the reason that the AD is able to make that call is because Kirk skirted around the university's nepotism policies in order to hire Brian in the first place, like with the help of Gary Barta. You know, I was reading this article by Scott, and like I said, we're going to talk to him at 7:30. Very appreciative of his time. But I was reading this article that Scott put out yesterday that reminded me of all these things that I had forgotten about of when Brian got hired. Was technically you are not allowed to have, I mean, not technically, according to the University of Iowa, like rule books and
policies.
Employee policies, you're not allowed to have a family member directly report to you. So this entire time, Kirk Ferentz hasn't been Brian Ferentz's boss. It's been the AD. And while that was Barta, it was fine because Barta was kind of Kirk Ferentz's little lapdog and did whatever he wanted him to, and it was great, right? As soon as Barta left, that's when this why this Brian Ferentz thing became an issue, because he doesn't work for Kirk. He works for the AD because he can't work for Kirk,
right?
According to the Iowa's policies. And so that's the other thing that's really interesting here is it's a very strange situation in which Kirk actually didn't have the decision-making power over Brian's future with the program.
Well, and Brian's a good OC. Or not an OC,
O-line
a good
coach.
O-line coach.
Very good O-line coach,
He's a very good O-line coach, but he's not a good OC. And
which is okay. Like, not everybody has that skill set.
Right. But, skirting around that policy doesn't really matter to me a whole lot. And it shouldn't really matter to Iowa as long as that program's winning a lot of football games.
It doesn't matter until you get to a place
Iowa
like this.
has that ability to change that, while this experiment is in progress, right? If Brian Ferentz was putting up 35 points per game with this offense at Iowa right now, there would be no reason for anybody to fact check what the policies said or what the handbook, once said before he even got there. Right? No one would have an inkling to even check it because you're fine with the result.
Sure.
But now that we're in this position we are today, it's easy to go back and look at these things and then be like, oh, they did skirt around policy. They did kind of just do whatever they wanted to do and got away with it. And that's why no one can really raise a finger. Like Kirk Ferentz has no control in raising a finger.
He can't.
The only thing Kirk Ferentz can literally do in this moment, if he wants to, ride or die with his son,
is retire.
Is just retire.
Yeah.
But does he want to retire?
That's the $1 million question, right?
My guess would be no. Kirk Ferentz is at an age where he could retire, but he's also successful and has stayed successful over and over, year after year. Why would he want to leave a program that, low-key loves him, for one, a fan base that can't get enough of him, two, and if he and Iowa bring in a really good offensive coordinator or somebody that can at least spark some life into this offense, then poof, you may have Kirk Ferentz here for another 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the speculation is because people feel like he's kind of coming to the end of the road naturally anyway in terms of his career. So that's part of it. And the other thing is he doesn't need it, right? He doesn't need to keep coaching.
But it goes back to what we said with Dusty Baker just last week.
He's a lifer, right? Now, if Dusty Baker's kid had been forced to be fired from his staff, maybe that looks different too.
But was he really forced to be fired? Because he knew what he was getting himself into this season.
But I'm talking big picture here, right? Not just this season. If it was up to Kirk, there's no way that these stipulations would have been put on Brian Ferentz to start the season anyway, right? This is a situation where he doesn't have to work anymore. He probably feels like, I don't know if you've ever been in a job where you had one boss and they kind of let you do whatever you wanted and like they trust you to get the job done. And then somebody else took over and they micromanaged you every second of the day. And you just couldn't, like, didn't matter what you were doing, whether you're doing the right thing, doing the wrong thing, whatever, they were always on top of you.
Even if I haven't been in the position, which I can't say that I have in my short time. Working in the professional world, I can understand.
It's a very common thing that happens, right? You have people that, you change management positions, you change your management styles, and you go from a very like relaxed, hey, we trust you to do your work, to, hey, we're going to be on top of you all the time, 24/7. And there's a chance that Kirk Ferentz feels that way. And there's nothing that, I mean, just from having seen other people leave jobs and having left jobs myself for that reason, you can very easily see a situation where Kirk Ferentz might feel that way, where he feels like, hey, everything was working fine. This new guy comes in is dipping his fingers in my program. Like, why do I want to continue like that? I think it's going to be interesting to see how Kirk Ferentz responds to this at the end of the year, because I don't think he'll say much of anything until that point. But it wouldn't shock me if Kirk Ferentz just like, hey, screw you guys, I'm out. And because there's no way he was ever going to fire his son. And that's why the policy exists, right? The policy doesn't exist for when things are going well, right? The policy exists because no dad wants to fire his kid. Like, we're not talking about Succession and Logan Roy here where he hates all of his children. It's like, no, none of you get to work for me. At least I'm not putting you in any position to be successful, right, or to be powerful at all. It is most people, I witnessed this firsthand when I was younger, watching Florida State football, because I follow Florida State super closely. Bobby Bowden had always said he was never going to hire his kids, even though like Terry was a head coach, and there's another one that's a head coach, I forget. And then you had Jeff, who was kind of the youngest son, and he hires him to replace Mark Richt as offensive coordinator after Richt goes to Georgia. And it was the worst stretch of Bobby Bowden's career, basically, at Florida State.
That's why you don't get in bed with your family. Like,
absolutely.
That is the reason why you don't do that.
I mean, like, there is
more chances of this going incredibly wrong than going way right.
The risk versus reward for something like that is so reversed, right? Because you know how good you would have to be as an offensive coordinator or whatever for it to be a no-brainer, right? Like, if I'm trying to think of who's an incredible offensive coordinator just off the top of my head here. If you were like, I don't know, Graham Harrell or somebody, right? Like, before, he's putting up really good offenses with USC, it has this pedigree of, and Graham Harrell's probably not even a great example, but like Jimbo Fisher pre-Florida State is the best example. Kirby Smart as the defensive coordinator, right? If Kirby Smart's your kid and you're like, hey, my kid's awesome at this, like, we should hire him, then it becomes a little bit easier. But with like a Brian Ferentz or a Jeff Bowden or whoever, you look at it and you go like, there's nobody better. There's nobody as good that we can at least avoid the awkwardness. That's the thing, is it's not that hard to find someone as good as Brian Ferentz. It wouldn't have been that hard to find someone as good as Jeff Bowden, especially
find anybody.
That's what I mean.
That can try to,
especially in a
25 points per game
Power 5 conference where you're going to pay Power 5 assistant money. You can go, and that's where it becomes a problem, right? It's not that I care that Kirk Ferentz is hiring his kid. It's that you're going to put yourself and the university in a super awkward position where if this doesn't go well, even if it goes pretty well and they struggle at some point, you're going to be in a really awkward position of, hey, do I have to fire my kid? And it's what happened at Florida State. Eventually, it was like, hey, Bobby, it's Jeff or you. And he's like, all right, Jeff, sorry, we got to go. And he still got like a kind of cushy buyout for what he was. Same thing with Brian Ferentz. He goes, hey, like, you get put in a position where unless you're wildly successful, you're going to have to fire your kid or your relative or whoever it is. And that's so awkward.
So the other thing here that I think about with the contract clause that was mandated on him this year to get to the 25 points per game and get to a bowl game and continue to average it through a bowl game, it's almost as though Iowa knew exactly what they were doing last year when they put that clause on him.
100%.
That it was unreachable.
For him. Yeah. 25
Because,
points a game, by the way, not unreachable, but for him.
For him and for the
For
Iowa
Iowa,
offense,
yeah.
it is unreachable. And so by doing that, you knew it was too high and too far reaching for him when he first came out and talked about it and said, well, are you going to be mad when it's 24-10 against Wisconsin and we get the win, like X, Y, and Z? I'm like, are you really going to start like pointing fingers now? Because you barely, and I mean barely, beat South Dakota State last year. Barely. It was 7-6. You barely beat South Dakota State last year.
Yeah.
And then it further trickled on down the season where Cooper DeJean was the majority of your point scoring.
Yeah.
And that was not even on punt returns.
No, on
last year.
defense.
That was pick sixes.
Yeah,
that
defense.
Cooper DeJean was doing that. This year, he's been the majority of your offense on special teams.
Yeah.
So a guy that you don't even coach is scoring more points than your offense. That's how I knew this whole goal was unreachable, even from last year. And Iowa, they knew what they were doing from the very beginning.
It's the same thing that Trev did with Scott Frost, to be honest. Like, Trev knew, and listen, we never got the public declaration of what those metrics were for Frost, But this is the exact same thing. I'm sure whatever those metrics were, Trev knew that for Scott Frost, they were unreachable. I'm positive. Now, he ends up getting fired before that anyway, because, you know, you lose to Georgia Southern at Nebraska and you haven't had a winning season yet. Like, you get fired. I'm sorry. Like, that's just how it works. But I'm sure that's the exact same thing that happened with Trev, where he goes, hey, I'm going to put these metrics in place. They're going to look really reasonable, but I know because of what I've seen in this program that there's not a chance in hell that you reach them. And I'm exactly sure what happened both with Iowa and Nebraska. And it's, you know, some people like, oh, it's kind of a crappy move if you're the AD, but if you're setting a bar that is reasonable for everyone else in college football, and you know that guy can't reach it, then the only thing that tells me is like, yeah, you should fire him anyway, and you're giving him more life than they deserve. Because that's how I felt about Scott Frost. I felt like they should have fired him before his last season there. Now, if you do that, you don't get Coach Rhule, and I like Coach Rhule, so I'm happy with how it turned out. But it's the same thing with Brian Ferentz. Brian Ferentz should have just been fired last year.
Low-key, I kind of was like on the Scott Frost train his final year because I wanted to be like one of the only people that believed.
Yeah.
And, it's good that I didn't come open. Like, I didn't open up about that.
In hindsight,
not on social media, not on the
didn't
radio.
work.
I chose to keep that information from within, and I'll release it now on how I wanted to be one of those people.
Yeah.
But it was the right move. But you're right. Stipulations are set for all coaches. It's not just this one. This is not
unusual.
Example.
No. And even if they don't specifically say the stipulations, everybody understand their stipulations.
So that's kind of what I was going to get into. There are times where I don't know if I want to fully believe that an athletic director has a conversation and says, hey, I know you're not going to reach these goals because you don't want to insert failure into your program. So the conversation probably is more like, hey, you have these goals. We know they're going to be tough to hit, but this is how we see fit, whether you stay with the program or not. We're going to put on it's kind of like, you know, it's the challenge that you're a salesman, I'm a salesman. You have better numbers than I do. Andrew, if you don't match Ravi's numbers or get above him in this quarter, you may be put on, you know, some type of leave of some sort.
Yeah.
Or you're going to have to take, you know, we're going to have to monitor all your hours or things like that. Like, you have things that fall on you because you aren't living up to the expectation. And that's really how I think that conversation was handled behind closed doors. Barta, Ferentz, meet with Brian. Boosters are breathing down my neck right now. The school, is on us. Like, we have to get this better. Brian, this is what I think we can do to at least give you another opportunity, or else they would have probably fired you yesterday.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they definitely would have. And I think, honestly, I think most of the Iowa boosters wanted him gone. I think most people in the AD's office wanted him gone. I think it was literally just, hey, we don't want to make Kirk mad. And I get it. You know, he's kind of been the backbone of he's been the backbone of your program. Iowa was in a real bad way after he took over, or when he took over, and he's made Iowa football relevant, which is not the easiest thing in the world to do. But again, this is why those policies exist. It's not in case he goes well. It's not in case Brian Ferentz is incredible at his job. It's because more often than not, it doesn't work out. Like, more often than not, he'd have been the OC somewhere else if he was that good at it. And he wasn't. He was an O-line and a tight end coach. He'll probably be an O-line coach in the NFL because he's really good at it. Like, he's genuinely good at that part of the job. Coming up, we're going to talk to Scott Dochterman, a little bit more Iowa football before we move on here this morning on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
And a single tailback. Now McNamara's up under center. They run a draw. Touchdown, Iowa. Jazz Patterson scores on a counter draw over center and right guard. And I don't think he was touched, and they had everybody on the line.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. I'm Ravi Lulla. Andrew Rogers here with me.
What up?
And we are joined now by Scott Dochterman from The Athletic. covering Iowa football. Scott, we definitely appreciate your time. It's not like you've been busy in the last 24 hours, right?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a wild ride, I guess, since Sunday, and here we are. Kind of day one, AD or ABS, if you want to call it that.
Scott, so just run me through the timeline here of when's the first time you started hearing whispers of this starting to happen, and how did that progress into, this is reportable information that Brian Ferentz is going to be finished at the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, there always are rumors, and that happens with every major program, and you just kind of check into the ones you think are normal, or ones that you think are legitimate, and then the ones that are just somebody throwing out speculation that people are trying to pick up on. Well, I started hearing from legitimate people on Sunday that there might be something in the works here, and it's been discussed. And then it just turns out that there's really a lot of smoke then on Sunday night, and by Monday, it became readily apparent that what had happened. It was just more about the details of what happened. I mean, I knew, or I learned that over the weekend that Brian Ferentz wasn't going to be retained as offensive coordinator. I just wasn't sure if that was kind of his decision, if it was mutually beneficial or what. And then we found out later on that it was Beth Getz that actually and made that decision, and it wasn't necessarily mutually beneficial or mutually agreed upon. So that's what really that's kind of where we stand now, which is the interim athletic director made the decision. It wasn't a joint Ferentz family decision.
Scott, this was inevitable. I mean, nobody expected Iowa to average 25 points per game with how lackluster this offense was last season. And 25 points in college football really isn't a whole lot of points. But do you think that number was set nearly unreachable for Brian Ferentz to make it easier to let him go at the end of the day?
Well, it was a simple goal if you think about it. As you said, in college football, 25 points per game isn't a whole lot. I mean, and in fact, when you look back, even as recently as 2020, Iowa averaged almost 32 points a game. So the thought was that you add two new receivers, an NFL caliber tight end, and a quarterback that's won a Big Ten championship, and plus growth along the offensive line, that 25 is a reasonable goal. And then you look at the record that Iowa's had when they've scored 25 points under Brian Ferentz is 31-1. So the thought is, if Brian Ferentz can at least get to that level, then Iowa's going to be a championship caliber program with that defense and special teams unit. And as the season kind of progressed, they started off slow and were a little bit sluggish on that side of the ball. I think some of it was unexpected, some of it was. But when Cade McNamara tore his knee, and when you saw Luke Lachey go down with a broken leg, that really changed the dynamic of the offense, set it back. And then here we are now, where it's worse than it was last year. And last year I thought was rock bottom. And so it's in a difficult situation where they're trying to play complementary football without one of the three parts.
Scott, you mentioned how not that long ago this offense was more than functional. 32 points a game is pretty good. What happened over the course of the last few years that we went, because it wasn't just 2020 like you mentioned. The first couple years under Ferentz, they were pretty solid, if not better than that offensively. What happened? Like, where did this all go wrong?
There are a couple of different areas, and it all really collapsed at the same time. I mean, they lost some good wide receivers. Their offensive line, they had some really good players there for a while with Tristan Wirfs, Alaric Jackson. Both of them are starting left tackles in the NFL. Tyler Linderbaum, who's a starting center, and they weren't able to replace them. I mean, their 2018 and 19 offensive line classes produced basically one offensive lineman, and he was a marginal to below average starter. And so they bottomed out there. They had a lot of injuries, and then you cannot dismiss quarterback play. Nate Stanley, who was a guy that I think everybody thought was serviceable, decent at times, he did throw 68 touchdown passes, and since 2020 they've thrown 34. So you're talking about half the number of touchdown passes, over that period of time. And so when you add those up, then you look at, okay, are the coaches giving them the best opportunities to win? And I would say schematically, no, that they've been behind the times for a long time. But then the coordination and the play calling have not been up to par. So, and it's realistic and perhaps even legitimate to say that they underachieved in Brian Ferentz's first 3 years when you have tight ends like Noah Fant and T.J. Hawkinson and some pretty good receivers and obviously the offensive line. So I think overall the last 3 years have really been indicative of a lack of talent, lack of development, a lot of attrition, and probably poor play calling.
Scott, I'm curious to know the state of mind the fans are in right now. What has been the overall reaction in Iowa City? Are people thrilled? Are they relieved? Do they not really care right now because Iowa's first in the Big Ten West? What's going on over there?
Well, I can tell you this, that there are fireworks going off all over the place last night in Iowa City area, and I couldn't tell if that was because, Sam Laporta caught a touchdown on Monday Night Football and somebody won a fantasy football game, or if that was because of this. I'm kidding. No, the reaction's been, as positive as it could be.
Sure.
Here, and because this is something that Iowa fans have felt like they've felt paralyzed. I mean, when you have a coach like Kirk Ferentz, and you can't dismiss his success. I mean, he's won 200 plus games. He's a Hall of Fame coach, one of the most successful in Big Ten history. However, the stranglehold over the football program has prevented any kind of change. And everybody here, and just like everybody everywhere, can see the detriments of this program. They have an outstanding defense. Last year was one of the best in the country. And this year it's among the top 10. And then you have maybe the best special teams unit in the country. And you have an offense that had 12 yards against Minnesota in the second half, or that didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver against Purdue. And when you look at those things, you're like, how can you be so terrible in one area and so good in the others? And so that's kind of been the reaction here, that people are like, finally, something's going to change here. And ultimately, this is an unusual situation because you have an interim athletic director making this bold move, and it's seemingly without the Ferentz family consent. Then I think you overall, you wonder what's the next step for Kirk Ferentz. Well, that hasn't been addressed. He will talk today, and I don't expect him to come out and say anything to his future, but it is something now that's probably the next question.
Scott, you mentioned that $1 million question of what does this mean for Kirk Ferentz. I believe we talked either before the season or early in the season, and you said, hey, if this ends up going poorly for Brian, you can definitely see a world in which Kirk calls it a career as well. You still think that's on the table as far as possible options now that his son has been dismissed?
I think anything's on the table now. I mean, I've never gotten the vibe that Kirk wants to leave. Part of it was Brian, wanted to kind of leave on his own terms, and whether that's the NFL or another college job, that he's going to go. He's got two other sons. It's funny because sometimes we think of him as like the only child just because he's the crown prince or something. But, I think in this case, it's, Kirk's going to have some decisions to make. He is 68 years old. He still has a really healthy program. I mean, they're still third in the Big Ten in wins over the last, 5+ years, and they've had some success, but now he's going to make a decision. I mean, he is not the ruler of his kingdom anymore, that somebody else made that call, and he's got to decide, is this something that he wants to continue to go forward with, or is this something that he wants to end? And so that's going to be interesting to see. And I think a lot of that may play out through the course of the year. I mean, if they go 1-3 down the stretch or something, then I don't know that there's going to be a lot of people here saying we need to continue this altogether. However, I haven't calculated his buyout today, but he does have a contract to 2030. So it's going to be his choice one way or the other. And but this is one way where he can end his legacy on a high note. If he goes out and able to go get a different offensive coordinator, maybe this team takes another step forward.
Scott, quickly here, just about 20 seconds. 29.5 is the over-under this weekend. If you're a betting man, do you still take the under?
Oh, yeah. You take the under every week. You might lose this week, but you're going to win.
Scott Dochterman from The Athletic. Scott, I know you've been crazy busy. We very much appreciate your time.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks, Scott.
That's Scott Dochterman from The Athletic. Coming up next, we've got Chris Solari. He is covering Michigan State football for the Detroit Free Press. Coming up next to preview Nebraska's next opponent here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back.
Like, think about the men in that Michigan State locker room and what they've accomplished over the years. Think about the last time we went there, right? We had it almost won, and we lost in the fourth quarter right on special teams play. So think about, like I said, think about Coach Barnett, All-American there, spends 15 years of service, steps in as the interim head coach. Maybe he'll get the head coaching job, I don't know, but his last game as head coach, this is their last game at home. How would you coach? You know what I'm saying? How would you play? If you're a senior, if you're those seniors and you didn't go in the portal and you decided to stay and fight for your team, like I said the same thing about Northwestern. I said, hey, look at what Northwestern, how seniors and you didn't go in the portal and you decided to stay and fight for your team. Just stay and fight for your team. Like think about.
We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Like, think about the men in that Michigan State locker room and what they've accomplished over the years. Think about the last time we went there, right? We had it almost won, and we lost it in the fourth quarter right on special teams play. So think about, like I said, think about Coach Barnett, All-American there, spends 15 years of service, steps in as the interim head coach. Maybe he'll get the head coaching job, I don't know, but his last game as head coach, this is their last game at home. How would you coach? You know what I'm saying? How would you play? If you're a senior, if you're those seniors and you didn't go in the portal and you decided to stay and fight for your team.
Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Ravi Lulla, Andrew Rogers here with you on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, and ESPN Tri-Cities. We are joined now by Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press covering Michigan State. Chris, how are you this morning?
Well, I'm tired because I spent the night rewatching Michigan State Central Michigan season opening game, trying to find breadcrumbs and clues for all the things that are out there. I started watching it a little bit during the day yesterday, but oh boy, have those rumors picked up and intensified.
Well, Chris, we appreciate the grind and hard work that you're on there. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about first and foremost, I know you wrote about this recently as well, is that quarterback situation at Michigan State has been a little bit of a musical chairs situation as well. I guess, how do you handicap who you think's actually going to play against Nebraska?
Boy, I'd say where are we at? Tuesday? I'd say I'm 60-40 on Sam Leavitt, probably.
Okay, the true freshman.
I thought, yeah, I mean, he's got one more game left, and kind of like Matt Rhule said, Michigan State's looking to win this. I mean, they're looking to get out of that losing streak, give Harlan Barnett a win. It's senior day. And quite honestly, I mean, there's 2 games left in the month of November that are, I say this with all understanding of where they're at, that are logistically winnable.
Mm-hmm.
Not winnable games. I don't necessarily think they're winnable games, but, the Nebraska game and the Indiana game seem like the most logical chances for them to end this losing streak, because they also got Ohio State next week, and then they finish with Penn State and Detroit, which is not exactly the greatest, 1-2 punch for this team this year. But I think Sam Leavitt's the guy. He showed some things against Minnesota, but again, Caden Hauser showed some things earlier in the year too, particularly that Rutgers game. Once the tape gets out, I think that's going to be a tough thing to see. How's a true freshman going to adjust when defenses adjust to him and his strengths?
Chris, as you said, the Spartans on a 5-game losing streak. Nebraska has won 5 of their last 6 games. Make a case for me why Michigan State will win this game, and then follow that up, if you could, with a case on why Nebraska will win this game.
Well, I think, the emotions of the day and the I guess, trapped in the corner, wounded animal mentality that Michigan State needs to have are the reasons how they can win the game. I mean, they have to play a perfect game as they've had in months. And Nebraska, the case to win is just ride that wave of momentum that you're on right now. Don't change things. This isn't an opponent that you really need to do anything outside of the norm based around how they've been kind of, I don't want to say circling the drain, because I do think Michigan State's been competitive oftentimes for 3 quarters and then fading. It is a program that's down. It is a program that physically is beaten up in terms of the guys that they have injured. So I think you just stay the course if you're Matt Rhule.
Chris, I'm curious, is there anywhere you look at this Michigan State roster and you say, hey, if this kind of started clicking, they could be dangerous, at least in this one area?
I like their secondary. I think their secondary is good, young, and hungry, and they're a little more ball hawking than the versions in the past few years. But they are prone to giving up big plays, particularly in the middle of the field. I think their middle field coverage is struggling. I mean, their defensive line at times can play strong. The receivers haven't got much separation. Nate Carter's, at this point, their only legitimate and healthy running back. So there really aren't a lot of areas right now with this team, unless Sam Leavitt gets hot and, plays like he did at Minnesota in the fourth quarter, but also doesn't turn the ball over as egregiously as he did, I think that's about the only way they can have a shot here.
Chris, we haven't really gotten to talk to anybody in state about this all too much, but I did see an article where Peyton Thorne, the former Michigan State quarterback, came out and spoke briefly about the scandals taking place at Michigan. What do you make of all the accusations over in Ann Arbor, and how do you foresee the rest of that investigation going?
As I say, as I yawn from watching the Central Michigan State game, you're at what is this, week 11 in the season, week 10 for Michigan State, and I'm going back and revisiting the first game of the year. You want to talk about preposterous? I mean, we're talking about the state of Michigan right now. Okay, this is college football in the state of Michigan right now. An M word that involves Mel Tucker that I won't say on the radio.
Appreciate that.
Hitler,
yeah,
cyber espionage, and sideline sign stealing on a different team's coaching staff. I mean, it's preposterous. I mean, it is absolutely absurd, the things that have been happening over the course of the last few weeks and months, if you throw Tucker's situation in with the stuff that's going on in Ann Arbor. I mean, just when you think things can't get any more absurd, they do. And I don't know. I mean, you've heard a lot of smoke about both of those situations, both the Tucker situation and the Michigan cheating scandal. How much of it can be proven, I don't know, but it is made for a very strange 2 to 3 months on this beat and now on the Michigan beat. As far as the allegations go, I think everybody kind of understands that sign stealing is one thing, illegally scouting another opponent and paying for tickets and potentially having databases of people and things that you've gained and obtained illegally. I mean, it's wild. I mean, it is as wild as it seems and sounds. But to me, there are two big things here. One, you're skewing if true, you're skewing the competitive balance, which is going to draw people's eyes. And two, what is the gain of that? Is it just wins? Is there something else involved in this? Because a lot of the things that I've been hearing behind the scenes are watch out for the gambling element of this. And I don't feel like we're seeing anything. I don't know where we're at with this iceberg. Let's put it that way. Are we halfway down the iceberg? Are we just seeing the tip? Are any of these rumors in the last 24 hours legitimate, or worse than we know? It's a strange time to be covering and around the sport here in Michigan, because it's the worst of sport. That's the hard part. It's the worst of sport in both cases. The things, the cult of personality with Mel Tucker, the cult of personality with Jim Harbaugh, and then you add in the cheating scandals. I mean, it's been a lot of people are reading though.
Selfishly.
Yeah.
Chris, as the season winds down for Michigan State, how much of your focus has shifted not so much to the games and more to, hey, what do they do and where do they go in terms of hiring someone to get this program back on track?
Oh, here, I thought you were going to say, how much did your focus shift to basketball?
Well, that too.
It was probably around, I was going to say, for most Michigan State fans, the attention shifted to basketball about 2 weeks into the Mel Tucker saga.
Sure.
For the Washington game. And it's going to be a good season for them. They had that exhibition game with Tennessee the other day that was phenomenally played basketball game for October. Best
Right.
game I've seen, best basketball game or football game I've seen in October this year. So, but in terms of the coaching search, I think now I'm going to go through my kids trick-or-treating tonight. Going to observe, see how many kids are wearing Urban Meyer costumes, and then tomorrow I'm going to go and actually start saying, all right, now we're in November. Now you start hearing more legitimate things.
Fair enough.
Now is when you know.
Fair enough. Well, I hope you enjoy a better basketball season than you have a football season.
I'm
but
sure he will.
We very much appreciate your time as always, Chris. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Chris.
That's Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press covering Michigan State football. And thankfully for him, Michigan State men's basketball as well, which will be hopefully a better season up
You'd
there
have to expect
in East Lansing.
I think they have a pretty good coach that's been doing it a long time up there.
And it can't be much worse than the football season they've gone through. Coming up next, we've got the Hurrdat Hot Seat here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back.
Flip side of it is I just think we're kind of a tough team. I kind of like our guys. I think we're kind of a black, gritty, tough team. And I kind of like running the ball and stopping the ball. I kind of think that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? So I think it's a testament to that. I think it's a testament to winning the time of possession. I think it's a testament to playing on special teams and make, you block a punt 1 week, or block a field goal 1 week, score on special teams 1 week. I think that's kind of a testament to that. And what's unique, too, is that we're third, and this could be wrong. So if it's wrong, don't say I lied, just say I was wrong. But I believe we're third in yards per completion in the Big Ten at 12.6, which would usually say, hey, you know what, you should probably throw it a little bit more. And you know what? You're up 21-0 in that game, and they're controlling the game. Kind of like, hey, let's just put you guys away. Got too late. We got to some of the inside zone slices that won the game at the end. Great job by. But the flip side of it is that controlling the game. Kind of like, hey, let's just put you guys away.
We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
But the flip side of it is I just think we're kind of a tough team. I kind of like our guys. I think we're kind of a gritty, tough team. And I kind of like running the ball and stopping the run. I kind of think that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? So I think it's a testament to that. I think it's a testament to winning the time of possession. I think it's a testament to playing well on special teams and you block a punt 1 week, you block a field goal 1 week, you score on special teams 1 week. I think it's kind of a testament to that. And what's unique too is that we're third, and this could be wrong. So if it's wrong, don't say I lied, just say I was wrong. But I believe we're third in yards per completion in the Big Ten at 12.6, which would usually say, hey, you know what, you should probably throw it a little bit more. And you know what? You're up 21-0 in that game, and we're controlling the game. I'm kind of like, hey, let's just put these guys away.
Getting those spoopy season vibes going here on Hurrdat Sports Radio as we kick off hour number 2. I got Zombie Coach Lasso over here. We got Shane Schillerberg producing.
It's Coach Tasso.
Oh, excuse me, Led Tasso. That's right. I forgot. My bad. We have I'm Ravi Lulla, your local friendly neighborhood mobster, and we are brought to you by our.
Works out perfectly with that ring.
I know, that's why I busted out the ring for today. brought the kiss the ring out. We're brought to you this segment by our local friendly neighborhood dentist in North Platte, Nebraska, Pratt Dental. Dr. Pratt is the only dentist in Nebraska that provides the BioClear method and modern smile design, which can correct many aesthetic dilemmas in a permanent and less invasive manner than traditional treatments such as crowns. Located in North Platte, you can reach him at 308-221-2800. Pratt Dental, creating healthy smiles.
I'm surprised you didn't bring a box of pizza with you, because you look like that guy.
I was trying to avoid looking specifically like
Why does he look like that guy? Huh?
Because he looks. that guy's gangster. So
yeah, the Godfather's pizza guy. See, I went with the black suit instead of the white suit, so I wouldn't overlap too much with his brand. I've got my cigar though. I don't need the pizza. We're okay
with the hat and stuff.
I do have the hat. Although again, he goes white. He goes white with the hat. It's a little.
I just noticed. Is there a tag on?
Yeah,
that
I forgot to take the tag off. I bought the hat last night. Everything else I had ready to go already, but I forgot.
Now, is that like a nice hat? Like you get it at?
No, that's from Spirit Halloween.
Okay, I was going to say.
No,
is that like a J.C. Penney find? Or?
No, that's a Spirit Halloween hat. I forgot to take the tag off, but yeah, it's okay.
It looks good.
The suit I already had. The suit we were ready to go. And believe it or not, I had these shoes already too.
I did not even notice the shoes until now. Swear. I saw from waist up.
Yeah.
The pocket square, the white tie.
Yeah.
It was looking sharp. Walking in with the white ribbon on the hat, on the fedora.
Got I believe they're called saddleback or saddle shoes. I think they black.
Don't look comfortable.
And they're not bad, but it's the black and white gangster shoes.
Yep. Was that suit bought for this occasion?
No, I had the
Halloween costume.
This occasion.
No, I had this suit already.
But was it bought in the past for a Halloween costume?
No, it was just I like the suit. It's a black on black pinstripe.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even notice that he has cufflinks too.
That's true. I'm a big cufflink guy. I love cufflinks. I enjoy a French cuff on my dress shirts.
Robbie's got style, people. Robbie's got some style.
It's time.
Meanwhile, I threw on a $20 bagged costume from the Halloween store.
That's all right. Coach Led Tasso doing it right. We appreciate it. It is time for our Hurrdat Hot Seat. It's every Tuesday and Thursday where Andrew and I get a little deep on our questions. Some sports, some not.
Yeah.
We've got I've got some Halloween themed questions.
I don't have any of those, but I think I have some good ones.
I think I've just got the one Halloween question. So let's start with that.
Okay. Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah, because that's good, because I need you to start smoking that cigar. And Shane, I need you to start vaping a lot for my first question. I need you guys to have a little bit of a buzz when I ask.
I don't think Bill would appreciate it if I lit up so I didn't even cut it, Bill. See, look, it's not even cut, so I'm not gonna smoke it here.
What we should do, Shane, is take a bunch of straws. Okay, connect them to the end of Ravi's cigar and just extend it outside and crack the door. That's how that works.
There,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but nothing else.
Funnel right
yeah,
through.
it'd be fine. I think we solved it. I might need a scuba mask and then like a Jeremy Tunsil situation.
Yeah, like a gas mask.
Then we'll keep it all.
Yeah, Robbie would not get drafted #1 overall if he was wearing that.
But just with the cigar, I think I might. Let's start off.
Hit me with it. Let's go.
Number 1, pretty easy one. What's your favorite Halloween memory?
Oh, goodness.
Are you a big Halloween guy first?
Yeah, I used to go trick or treating with the family. My parents never really let me go alone.
Sure. Yeah.
They always wanted some type of parental supervision
Sure.
up until a certain age.
Yeah.
But even still, it was like a group thing. I think the one I super close with some neighbors down the road, and we just all went out. We went out trick or treating in our neighborhood. Like nothing adventurous. Gosh, was that a Halloween memory? I'm thinking I think this was a Halloween memory too. Yeah, this is what my brain's doing right now. I'm trying to come up with it. Oh, it was. Okay, so there was a Halloween party that I had. It was like 6th grade, 7th grade, maybe it was 8th grade.
Yeah.
Went over to a buddy's house, and they had inflatable foosball in their backyard.
That's fun.
Yeah, and not with I feel like some people use bowling balls. Have you ever seen people play
that's
soccer
too
with bowling
intense.
balls?
That's too intense.
Yeah, we're 8th graders, and we used an inflatable soccer
Yeah, a
ball.
soccer ball. A normal thing to do.
Yeah, and
No one wants to
it was super
kick a
fun
bowling
because you had to be you had to be strapped in as if you were
tied
on
together.
the pole.
Yeah.
And you could only move
In
left and
unison.
right.
Yeah.
And you had to move with your partner.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like you're the only one on your metal rod.
Yeah.
It wasn't a metal rod though. It was just an inflatable rod. But you had to, as you said, move in tandem. And we just had a Halloween party, and that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of that. Outside of that, like when I grew up, I say grew up after 8th grade. Like
when I matured,
when I could have a few drinks at the age of 21. We had a Halloween party at my sister's house.
Oh yeah,
and it was just a bunch of friends, and it just another chance to get together with a group of really good people. So nothing crazy. Yeah, but just overall some good memories. Costume wise, I don't know if that's another question.
Yeah, do you have, no, it's not. But do you have a favorite costume you've ever done?
I was the Kool-Aid Man one year.
Nice.
And
did you run through any walls?
Oh yeah. I for my 5th grade state fair project, oddly enough, this is crazy. I'm connecting more dots as I'm talking about this. My state fair project was on the state of Nebraska.
Oh, okay.
And Kool-Aid was created here.
Absolutely.
And so when I was looking up different things to be, and in 5th grade, all I wanted to be was a Nebraska football player. Like, no matter what state I was, I wanted to be a sports athlete from that state.
Yeah.
But you had to be a certain person or a certain thing from that state. So, like, I could have dressed up as Cornstalk. I could have dressed up as Tom Osborne, but I just wanted to be a Husker football player. But they said I couldn't do that.
You need to be somebody specific.
Because I had to be, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm in 5th grade, and I didn't follow Nebraska football, so I didn't know. I just knew that they were a good football team.
Yeah.
So my mom came up with me being the Kool-Aid Man, and I did not want to be the Kool-Aid Man. I did not. I wanted to be a Nebraska football player. But she made a Kool-Aid Man costume.
Okay.
Like she's so crafty. And I'm like, this is low-key, like, really cool.
Yeah.
And come to find out, like, there's more than 50 people in my grade school class. So multiple people have the same state.
Yeah.
And so 2 people had Nebraska. It was me and another girl. And she dressed up as the Kool-Aid Man. I'm like, wait a second here. Whose idea did you steal? Because I know you didn't have this at the top of your brain. No, I couldn't believe, coincidentally, we were both the Kool-Aid Man. My costume was better.
Sure.
Shout out, Mom.
Shout out, Mom. Speaking of which, Mrs. Rogers, if you are listening, we need a photo. If you are on Twitter or if you have...
She is listening via Alexa right now.
Okay, so Mrs. Rogers, I just have a humble request that you send a photo of Andrew as the Kool-Aid Man to Ravi at hurrdatsports.com because I need to see this.
She's probably going to text me here in a hot sec. She listens to all of our shows.
Well, much appreciated. We love the support. But yeah, I need the photo of the Kool-Aid Man.
That's a good, man. How weird, though, that I ended up in
With Nebraska, yeah.
after having that as my state.
That's
Goodness
funny.
gracious. I don't think I could tell you one other thing about the state of Nebraska, though. Like what was on my poster board.
Johnny
Nothing.
Carson's from here. We know that.
I gave away some like really cool prizes too, because what you really want is people to stop by your station.
Sure. Yeah. Trying to get some business.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I told my mom I needed to give away some good things. So like we gave away like what what looked like a lifetime supply of Kool-Aid and like a pitcher and things like that. And I had like different things. I had raffles. And the best part about having raffles was after your project was over, it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So you still had like a couple hours of school.
Sure,
left.
yeah.
But they would let you go around and give out your prizes to the people.
Nice.
And so that's just what I did. And you know, I did not play by the rules. I would pick out names and I would only choose people I knew. So I like pulled out somebody's name and I'm like, you don't get to win. I know, I was so bad. I am like the worst person for doing that.
You're the Michigan cheating scandal of elementary school Halloween.
I am. Oh man. I still feel bad to this day that I probably pulled out like a girl's name that like really wanted the lifetime supply of Kool-Aid and I just threw her name off to the side and said, I'm looking for a friend of my brother's. I'm looking for somebody that knows my sister.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. All right. Back to you now. Hopefully you are buzzed up on that cigar.
Puffing away.
Here's a deep thought for you.
Yeah, let's do it.
If you weigh 99 pounds and eat a pound of chicken wings, are you 1% chicken?
What kind of question is that?
I mean, at the moment, yes. Yes, you are. That's it. That's all I got. Yes.
Whatever the hell it is.
Shane, what do you think? Are you 1% chicken if you eat a pound of chicken wings and you're 99 pounds, so now you're 100 pounds?
I really got to be careful on what I say about that. So.
Oh, that's all you got, Shane. Okay, cool.
Nobody can do that.
Where? What was prompted by just random thoughts?
Yep. I was just kind of sitting at home, and I sometimes I look things up on the internet. Sometimes
I thought maybe you like ate a bunch of chicken wings, and you're like, what percentage of chicken am I right now?
Well, so yesterday I ate a ton of pizza, and I was going to do pizza.
Yeah.
But I don't know really what a pound of pizza is. Like,
yeah, it's probably less than you think because it could be heavy. Like especially if it's a heavy
thin
crust.
It was it was my thin crust emos.
I do love it.
That I bring back from St.
I do love a thin crust.
I'll bring you some back when I go back in November.
I love thin crust pizza. Is it did it have the Prevel on there? Oh, see, I know.
That's Emo's pizza, baby.
I'm just making sure. See, I know.
My favorite topping too, sausage and bacon, and Emo's is the best because they use strips of bacon. They don't use bits.
Okay.
So it's a literal strip of bacon.
Yeah, just bring me one of those. That sounds perfect.
Yeah, I got you.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah, it's like a $30 pizza too.
Hey,
it's so worth it.
Listen, I'll pay for transportation costs too. No, my buddy went to law school in St. Louis, and so I went down to visit him a couple times, and we went and had the pizza and everything, and it's the first time I had Prevel, and I was like, ooh, I kind of like this.
I'm texting my mom right now.
I'll take it.
Yeah, text her, be like, hey, need to email Ravi the picture here of Kool-Aid Man. Hopefully she's looking for it right now. Yeah, but I think you are 1% chicken. I think that's accurate.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's real.
All right.
Number 2. Yesterday was the sports equinox.
Yes, it was.
Only the 29th one ever.
Don't ask me if I placed a bet because I did not.
No, it's okay. In honor of all 4 major sporting events being played on the same day, what is your favorite spot on the sports calendar and why?
My favorite day on the sports calendar changes because it's whenever March Madness begins.
Well, that's what I mean. So favorite spot, not a day necessarily, but opening weekend of March Madness.
Opening weekend of March Madness. And the reason for that is I really got an appreciation for this day in freshman year of college.
Mm-hmm.
I was on spring break in Miramar Beach, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in Florida on spring break, what do?
Maybe have a couple drinks.
Have some drinks.
Couple soda pops.
Right? Yeah. Whatever. Like, I was not of age at the time.
Okay.
So I, what you do is you go to the beach
and
you hang out with friends, like whatever. No, I sat in a beach house and watched by myself the opening day of March Madness. And I kid you not, it was the best moment of my life.
Oh,
yeah. It was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Like, I just found my favorite sports day of the year because not only did I have my iPhone and an iPad and a TV right in front of me that had all games being played on it because March Madness is great because the March Madness app allows you to watch for free.
Yep.
You don't even have to type in a TV provider.
Yep.
Like, it'll just stream it for free. So I'm watching a game on the screen. I have them both to my sides. And for 6 hours at least, I'm watching college basketball by myself. And it's just something different because I filled out like 15 brackets.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like circling, Xing out, throwing one away. I felt like a king just with a smorgasbord of food in front of me, yet it was college basketball. And I just kind of sat back, relaxed, and enjoyed.
This smells delicious.
Low key, one of the things that I miss most is, and I might start doing it again, is like printing out a physical bracket and crossing teams out and writing them in. Because now it's all on your phone, right? You just have the app and you're like, that's your bracket. I really liked, when I was a kid, so me and my sister would, for a while, they would print in the Omaha World Herald, they would print big brackets on that Wednesday, or no, they would do it on, I think, Monday, right after they announced the bracket. So we would cut it out and we'd fill it in, and then they started making it smaller and smaller. So we just started making our own, and like on a big piece of poster board, and we would tape it up in my living room. And every time a game would win, cross them out and write the next team in. I love crossing out a bracket. I don't know why. It's super fun and super satisfying. So I'm probably going to do that again this year. Just get a big poster board just for I don't even have people over most of the time. Just for my own satisfaction because I enjoy doing it.
Travis on YouTube, and I don't know if he's saying I don't fill out enough brackets or I fill out way too many, but he goes 15-ish brackets. Come on, man. I believe that is probably on the too many train. And I got to tell you, Travis, that is like on the low end of what I normally fill out.
I used to do a ton. Now I only, now I usually do like 3 or less. Usually it's 1 or 2. Every once in a while I'll do 3. But that's my favorite one as well. And I know there's there's times in October, like we saw yesterday with the sports equinox, where there's more going on. I really enjoy January 1st with the college football slate. That's a great day.
Yeah, that's a great day.
Or whatever day the college football playoff is on now. Usually there's other bowl games as well. That's a super fun day. But when I was growing up, it was all the major bowls were on January 1st.
Right.
Can I? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Can I give you two?
Your show.
Go ahead, Shane.
Two that I think are better. I mean, I would put the opening weekend for NCAA basketball number 3.
I mean, that's wrong.
Opening weekend of college basketball. Okay.
Well, no, for the March Madness.
Oh, okay.
March Madness at number 3.
Okay.
But before that, I would go number 1. I would go the championship day for college football.
Okay.
I'm talking like conference championship days.
Ooh, that's a good day. The
That
conference
is a good
championship
one.
game weekend is a good day.
And then opening day for NFL playoffs.
I can
give or take with that one.
I prefer the conference championship day for NFL playoffs. You just have kind of the 2 games. That's a major deal.
Is it cool to include a high school sports in this?
I mean, if you want to.
Because high school basketball.
Yeah, and Nebraska basketball state tournament is that's a great day.
Dude, I remember covering it, and I would go and this was before they had it just at Devaney and Pinnacle Bank, which is so fortunate for every TV reporter out there now. But I was going
bopping around
Lincoln
the city.
Southeast,
Yep.
Lincoln Southwest, Lincoln East, North Star. I
Running
was all
yeah.
over Lincoln for the state tournament, and I just always thought that was just a tremendous day.
Yes.
Just bouncing from game to game to game.
So that's the one thing that high school actually struggles with a little bit, is because you don't have the TV coverage. You do have to kind of have everything in one building for it to be a day like that. And the state tournament is one of the only places, the basketball state tournament is one of the only places that provides that. Obviously you got that with volleyball and stuff too. But Nebraska football, you could do it with the championship games if you're there at Memorial Stadium all day, but I don't like being outside in the cold that long in November.
Right.
But it's hard in high school, even if you have great events. So a lot of it's you have to bop around to a bunch of different places to experience it all, which makes it less fun for me just because it's less convenient. But no, the opening weekend of March Madness is my
great day.
Not just my favorite day on the sports calendar, it's my favorite time of year. Like when
it's the most wonderful time of the year.
It feels like Christmas for me. It genuinely does.
It's Christmas in March.
It is my favorite time of the year. It has been since I was a kid. It is the when they canceled the tournament in 2020, I was genuinely choked up because I love that time of year so much, and you wait all year for it. And Creighton was really good that year.
And that's the best part when your team is
good and good.
Oh, that is the best.
And my wife really didn't understand. We'd been married for like 6 months at that point, 8 months, something like that. And she's like, I don't really understand what's happening here. Like, why are you so upset? It was just a basketball tournament. And I was like,
just a basketball tournament.
I was like, imagine.
Get out of the house.
Yeah, that's my quarterback. No, I was like, because she loves Christmas. I was like, imagine, and she loves Halloween. I was like, imagine Christmas and Halloween were back-to-back days, and you doubled it. So you have 4 days in a row.
Freaking bats.
And then imagine that was just taken away from you one year. And she's like, oh. She's like, I'm sorry. I didn't get it.
See, Ashley would be like, you're being dramatic.
No, like it's legitimately my favorite thing all year, and it always has been. And so I'm 100% with you there. What is your number 2? Yeah.
So today is the NFL trade deadline.
It is. Yeah.
So you're a human trade generator.
Okay.
And you can place one player on any team to turn them into a real Super Bowl contender this year. Who are you adding?
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be somebody on, well, try to lean actually somebody that is borderline trade block. Don't just take McCaffrey and put him on the Cowboys.
Like
right?
I shouldn't take, because I hope Sauter's not listening, but the Jets are pretty good. They have a good roster. If you trade them, I don't know, pick a quarterback. Like if you trade them any functional quarterback.
Right. Like, so for example, I think the Vikings and Saints have been in high trade talks for Jameis Winston.
Sure. Yeah.
Something like
that.
that
Would make sense. You can't just be like, hey, let's just take Patrick Mahomes and put him on the Jets.
Right.
Because that's not happening. An interesting one for me. I do think the Jets are the most interesting because I genuinely do feel like they're a quarterback away from being legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Now, is there a quarterback that's even sort of available that fits that qualification? Probably not. I'm trying to think of maybe like a mid-level guy that I like more than most. Obviously not Trevor Lawrence. They would never trade him because he's generational talent.
He's a Lulla star.
He's not quite. No, not a Lulla star yet. That's only basketball. I haven't transcended Lulla stars to the NFL yet. We're still working on it. I mean, honestly, the most interesting one is if Brady were to come out of retirement and play for the Jets, but that's not a trade. Man, that's tricky. Because it is, to me, it is a quarterback. That's the thing that moves.
Well, so I'll tell you this. What's on the top of my brain is what they're going to do in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Because the NFC North has, I have rooting interest there.
I just feel like they're so bad it doesn't matter.
I thought, what if you take a chance on Trey Lance in Minnesota?
I thought about that.
So Trey Lance is a guy that was given up for a 6th-round pick or something?
Yeah.
Was that what the Cowboys traded with the 49ers?
I believe so.
And Trey Lance is still a healthy scratch every week in Dallas.
Yeah, he's not doing
If you're
anything.
Minnesota, why not also trade a 6th-round pick for Trey Lance and just see what you get out of him?
Yeah.
I mean, this is somebody that, think about it, played football up that direction. So he's familiar with the type of weather that you'll experience up there. And 2, Trey Lance was the 3rd overall pick, guys.
Hear me out here. It seems like the Cardinals are out on Kyler Murray.
They are.
What if the Jets traded for Kyler Murray?
Or the Vikings?
I mean, I think the Vikings are still bad, so I'm not sure that it matters.
I need Jordan Addison to perform this year for fantasy purposes.
We will continue with Hurrdat Hot Seat coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
1st and 10 from the 18 of the Raiders. Goff's going to work out of the gun. He's got Gibbs to his right. Goff takes the snap, back and looking, wants to throw, does, deep middle, caught, Laporta, inside the 5, to the end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions.
We are halfway through the show here on a Tuesday on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Andrew Rogers and Ravi Lulla here with you, and we are brought to you by our friends at Rockbrook Camera. Rockbrook is not just about trying to sell you a camera. They're trying to help you become the best photographer you can be, whether you're a professional like so many of our friends at Hurrdat Sports here, or if you're just a guy like me trying to capture your memories and share them with your friends and families. Rockbrook Camera has you covered. They can give you support after the sale as well with monthly classes to help you learn how to use your new equipment. They also have the latest technology for you. You can trade in your old gear to help you upgrade, or they have an extensive rental department if you want to try some things out and see what they have for you. You can check all that out at rockbrook.com or at their 2 great locations in Omaha, 168th and West Center, or in Lincoln, 70th and Pioneer. That's Rockbrook Camera. All right.
By the way,
yes.
Before you get to what you want to get to, was that first half of the game last night, was that electric or not? I mean, was that just a stellar, out-of-control game?
It was Big Ten West football is what it was.
But it was actually exciting.
Well,
there was exciting plays.
I mean, like you look at the Raiders, right? And first off, your wide receiver one of the best wide receivers in all of the National Football League, can't stand being there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the targets either.
Mm-mm.
That dude gets the ball thrown his direction. He just doesn't get catchable balls thrown his direction.
Is that what it is? So
there were a few that he dropped.
So Troy was wrong about that?
Hmm?
So Troy was wrong about that last night?
Troy Aikman?
Yeah.
Wrong about what?
Because he was
Being
saying
an exciting first half?
He was saying just the opposite of what you're saying.
That he's not unhappy?
No, that he should have been. They're not throwing it to him enough because.
No, see, early on in that game, they didn't throw him the ball hardly. But also, Jimmy G was like 1 for 4 through the first quarter.
Yeah,
like they had no room to go.
So
on
is it Jimmy G's fault, by the way, or is it his? Or
it's not Adams' fault,
or is it the Raiders' fault?
Well, I think it's a little bit on the Raiders for giving Derek Carr over to the Saints. I mean, Adams came in to play with Derek Carr.
Yeah, specifically.
And then they're just like, yeah, no, you're going to play with Jimmy G instead.
Yeah.
So I think a little bit's on the Raiders, but I also don't think Jimmy G's a great quarterback. Like, Jimmy G is serviceable.
Yeah, he's your league average quarterback, basically.
But he's not somebody that I'm like, oh, my gosh, he's going to make the throw.
Yeah, it's like when we were just talking about with the Jets. He's a guy that you could probably get in a trade. Maybe not this year, but in general, he's the type of guy you can get in a trade. But does he move the needle? Not really. He's just a guy.
I would rather have Jimmy G as a backup, as one of the best backups in the league.
Absolutely.
Than my starting quarterback.
Absolutely.
So I pray for you, Shane, that the Raiders do something different.
They're all about doing something different every single year, and they've been doing that for the last 20 years, and it hasn't worked. That's why I'm asking these questions. I want answers. Why is this not working?
It's not working because you have upper management that doesn't know how to make it work.
I was going to say.
I mean, I'm watching that game last night, and it reminded me a lot of the 2003 Super Bowl where the Raiders just got crushed. I mean, it was, it started out electric and then just went downhill, and it was just awful.
Well, I could really see a scenario where Davante Adams does get dealt by the end of today, even though the Raiders said they wouldn't. Yeah. I could easily see a scenario. You don't often see Davante Adams throw his helmet on the sidelines.
No, but especially if somebody is desperate and wants to pay a price for him, I mean, absolutely they would trade him. Like, that's the thing when, outside of Patrick Mahomes or people like that, nobody's untradeable. Especially these guys, like non-quarterbacks especially. If you give up the right assets for them, everybody's tradable.
Mm-hmm.
Like Patrick Mahomes is obviously not. I bet that San Diego wouldn't give up Justin Herbert for just about anything. Josh Allen
Los
in
Angeles.
Buffalo, it's gonna be San Diego till the day I die. It's just in my head. The Chargers wouldn't take anything for Herbert. I'm sure the Bills wouldn't take anything for Josh Allen.
We saw Brady go away, so I mean,
yeah, but that was by his choice. He wasn't traded; he left.
And Brady was
45.
40.
He was 45.
But I'm sure if they really wanted him, I mean, they probably could have done something.
They could have tried to re-sign him, but they didn't trade him. Like that's what we're talking about.
I gotcha.
It's a different scenario when guys are free agents and can just walk away. But it's also different when a guy's 45 years old and probably collecting AARP before he wants to retire. It's just a situation where Davante Adams is tradable. Everybody's tradable. Derrick Henry's tradable.
Everybody has a price.
Yeah, everybody has a price, unless you're one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league.
If the Bears came to the Chiefs today, and they were guaranteed the 1 and number 2 pick,
and
they were like, we kind of want Mahomes, so we're going to give the Chiefs 1 and 2 this year. We're going to give them a first rounder next year. We're going to give them a first rounder the year after that. They could create an outrageously large package to entice the Chiefs. Now, that doesn't mean the Chiefs will say yes.
They're going to say no.
But there is a number out there that would be like, okay, they are overpaying 400% on what this guy is worth. We can accept this trade and be good.
See, I don't even think that's true for a guy like Mahomes, because I genuinely don't believe there's a asset package valuable enough.
And maybe there's not.
To get a Mahomes, because all you're trying to hope for to get in that asset package is another Mahomes. And you already have the guy, so that doesn't make any sense.
Well,
right?
And then you got to build back up.
But I think that's more what it is, right? So it's Kelsey and Mahomes. That's it.
Sure.
That's it in Kansas City. But maybe you can build a super team by going that direction.
Yeah, but you're trading a known for unknowns in a situation where the known that you have
it was pure hypothetical,
is
Robbie.
the
I said
best case scenario.
I said the Chiefs would take in offers that could be enticing, but they wouldn't just jump.
Yeah, I mean,
and say, yes, this is what we're doing. Because yes, Mahomes is a generational talent.
Yeah.
Mahomes is unmatched when it comes to statistics, when it comes to IQ, when it comes to a lot of different things in football. But there is something out there that can be created to be like, oh, I could see that working. The Chiefs probably won't accept it, but I could see that working as like a universal, okay, I could see the Chiefs accepting that deal.
Yeah, I don't think that deal exists. I really don't.
Travis says on our YouTube string, Josh McDaniel is the garbage head coach.
What do you have to say about that, Shane?
I'm going to say that it bleeds down from the top. And once that guy at the top gets something in his mind, he never wants to stray from that. I mean, you can see it with his haircut. He's had that forever. I mean, that's what the guy is. That's what the guy does.
His haircut and his Leonardo DiCaprio.
He gets something in his mind, and he will not stray away from that, no matter what.
Still, though, Josh McDaniels is not a good head coach.
Yeah, it's I'm kind of surprised that he keeps, getting chances, to be honest with you. Like, I don't know what you see in Josh McDaniels that you're like, yep, that's good. It's going to work this time.
That's all I have to say to Raiders fans. All right, let's get back into the Hurrdat hot seat real fast.
Yeah, we got a couple
Why
minutes.
you got to be so mean about that?
Why you got to be
mean about what? You're the one that started crapping on the Raiders to start the segment. We didn't do anything. You brought this upon yourself.
Well, it's been 20 years coming, so.
Let's go with this one. As you're watching the football game last night, they kept advertising this golden bachelor, and I'm like, what is happening here? And so
75-year-old man.
Yeah, so I look it up, and it's basically just the bachelor for old people, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you could have an old timers game in any sport, and instead of NFL, we'll play flag football in case that's what sport you choose, so nobody dies. Who would you most want to see play again?
Just a player,
any player or a team, whatever. What's the thing that you would love to see?
I would love to see Mark McGwire play again.
Ooh, okay.
And the reason is I don't remember much of Mark McGwire.
Okay.
Because I was
you were a little young. Yeah.
And like Albert Pujols would be more of like
your sweet spot.
I have core memories of Albert Pujols, but I don't have core memories of Mark McGwire, but I've heard so many great things. Mm-hmm. And like when he broke the home run record, like that is somebody that I would love to see back in action. And he is still huge.
Oh yeah.
Like he could still get up to the plate and probably rake today.
At least against batting practice for sure.
Oh,
he's not hitting like 99 mile an hour fastballs, but you give him some batting practice fastballs. Oh yeah.
That would be it for me. And if it weren't him, it would be Brett Hall.
Okay.
For the Blues.
Yeah, okay.
Never got to watch that guy play.
Sure, yeah.
But, I mean, one of the best hockey players of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like my teams.
Yeah, that I figured it would be. Mine's probably Michael Jordan.
Oh, that's a good one, too.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy. Really that's an obvious one, but
Kobe, I think Kobe would be amazing.
Kobe would be awesome as well.
Wayne Gretzky would be awesome.
One of those two for me is probably Kobe or MJ. Every once in a while, I see these little highlights of like MJ playing 3-on-3 with a bunch of guys on vacation in like the Bahamas. And I'm like, man, I would love to see him just drop like 40 in a charity game. That would make me so happy. That's your Hurrdat Sports Hot Seat for Tuesday. Coming up next, we've got some power rankings we got to get to.
Uh-oh.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We are brought to you by our friends at Dingman's Collision Center. Dingman's has 4 great Omaha area locations. They've been in business for over 25 years, locally owned and operated, and voted first place Best of Omaha for 18 years running. They've got the latest technology so they can work on any make and model that you've got for them. And the best part is they give back with every car repaired to the community. Go check out dingmans.com for more information. All right, it's Halloween. Halloween is synonymous with 2 things, costumes and candy.
Yes, it is.
We got our costumes already. We got Lead Tasso and your local favorite neighborhood mob boss. It's time to talk about some candy.
Let's do it.
All right. I'm thinking last night, trying to figure out, we don't get a ton of kids in my neighborhood, but I'm trying to figure out what kind of candies I want to buy them and stuff like that. So, okay.
I got the big things.
You just get the big combo pack? Oh, you go wait, king size?
Yeah, I got king size.
Okay.
I know. I felt like I wanted to be that house forever, and I've never experienced handing candy out to kids, which is a good thing.
Yes.
But I got like a big bag of chocolate bars.
Okay.
And then Sour Patch. Well, it's not just chocolate bars. It's got like Reese's and Twix and Snickers and things like that. And then it's Sour Patch watermelon and Swedish Fish, but they're all like the big size, like the king size.
Okay.
I got 100. Is that too much or too little?
I don't know your neighborhood. For my neighborhood, it'd be way too many. I
don't know my neighborhood either.
I'm probably not giving out more than
way too new.
Couple pieces of candy. Like there's just it's mostly an older neighborhood. Like people's kids have aged out and they just kind of still live here. And so not a ton of trick-or-treaters in my neck of the woods. I think the kids that are in the neighborhood, like a lot of them go to like grandma's house, they go to a different neighborhood or whatever. So not a ton of traffic at my house. So for me, 100 would be dramatically too busy, and I would just be eating candy for the rest of the month. No, but I'm saying, okay, so you're a kid, right? You're going through your neighborhood, you're getting candy, you dump out the pillowcase when you get home, and you're going through your haul, you're going through your score here.
What did I take in tonight?
And you're looking at them, and everybody knows there's a hierarchy. It's like, oh, this is a good one. This is trash.
My parents made me keep 10 pieces and then give the rest away to like charity.
Oh, okay. That's a bummer. I didn't eat a ton.
Helping out people. Bummer.
I mean, when you're a kid, it's a bummer to only keep 10 pieces of candy. Helping people is good, but so is candy. So, you're kind of, you sort it out. You're kind of laying it out on the table. You're figuring out what you like. Everybody knows there's some stuff that's crap and there's the good stuff.
Yep.
We're trying to give you a list here. You want to start? Let's go 10.
I got my top 10.
Let's go. I got my top 10 too. Let's start off with the stuff that we don't want. The stuff that
I only have one.
I've got two.
Okay, well, I could probably I could get two on this list.
You could probably guess.
I already have my
one
second one right now. Candy corn.
Candy corn is number one.
Kick that right to the curb.
Just kick that thing out of here. That's what I'm donating to charity. The less fortunate can have my candy corn. I'm not interested.
Candy corn's not that bad.
Stop it. Stay in your cave.
Yeah, that's okay.
Right there. Candy corn, awful.
The worst.
Awful candy.
Just no interest in it whatsoever. Get out of here with the candy corn.
I will take my candy corn and leave.
See ya.
All right.
Deuces. Second worst for me. Your regular ass Tootsie Rolls. Just the plain old Tootsie Rolls. Total trash.
You know what I can't stand?
What's that?
Dots.
Oh, okay.
I can't stand those things. You chew and you chew and you chew, and then you find out that it's stuck in the crevices of your teeth. So you're going in either with your fingernail, or then you got to go floss, and then you try to eat another one, and it's just like, why did I do this again?
It's true.
Dots are miserable.
They're not an easy eater.
No, and of course I have not an easy eater here, but then in my top 10, I definitely have a non-easy eater too.
Yeah, so kind of alongside Tootsie Rolls is the Tootsie Pops, which are also total trash. Not a fan. Not a fan.
Give or take with Tootsie Pops.
They're not as bad because you have the candy
have a
coating.
Tootsie Pop than a blow pop.
Oh, that's a terrible take.
No,
I love a blow pop.
The gum in the blow pop is horrible.
For like the first 15 seconds, it's immaculate.
No, not even, because like you're trying to rip it off the stick, and it's got all the sugar crystals like mixing in. So now you're like chewing.
I love a blow pop
on like crystallized sugar.
Yeah, terrific.
Versus like the actual bubble gum. Nah, not for me.
A blow. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna spoil it here a little bit. Blow pops in my top 10.
All right, let's get into it.
All right, my number 10. Okay, I've always loved a Crunch Bar. I don't know why. It's been since I was a kid. I've always loved a Crunch Bar.
I know you're probably going to do a lot of those faces to me. My number 10 is Twizzlers, and the reason for it.
See, you want to talk about not an easy eater.
No. Twizzlers, like when they come in the little pack.
Yeah, like the little
2-pack that you just pull apart, and they're like really soft, and you it's kind of like a nice like. All right, I've been eating a lot of chocolate. I'm going to have this candy.
So I do have a lot of fruity candies on here for that reason. I like fruity candy more than I like chocolate.
Me too.
I'm a pro fruity candy guy.
So Twizzlers are my 10.
Twizzlers are tough. I find the same, like your opposition to Dots. I have the same thing with Twizzlers. And
see, Twizzlers
like getting
are
stuck
easier
in my
to
teeth.
chew.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're about the same, but I understand.
I'll bring in Twizzlers for you and Dots, and I will prove you
We'll
wrong.
do a taste test.
This is going to be Mythbusters.
All right, number 9 for me.
Hit me with it.
It's my blow pops. I enjoy a blow pop. I really do.
In my blow pop.
I love me a blow pop.
Me, the everyday neighborhood mobster loves me some blow pop.
I do. And my cigar, a little blow pop. We're good to go.
Heath bars are my 9.
Heath bars.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only time I've had a Heath bar is in a Dairy Queen Blizzard. I don't think I've ever had one. I genuinely don't think I've just had one plain.
Yeah, Heath bars, that's another candy that gets stuck in your teeth.
Yeah, it does.
But that I can afford
you can
stay
deal
in
with
my
it.
teeth.
Okay. Number 8 for me. I like this one, but this is one that would have been higher if not, again, they've gotten very difficult to chew. I don't know if they were this difficult to chew when I was a kid or if I'm just getting old. Skittles.
Yeah, I can get down with some Skittles.
I like some Skittles. The flavor's terrific, but when I was a kid, I used to just like dump the entire little mini pack in my mouth. But man, it hurts your jaw. You're just chewing forever on those things.
Yeah, Milky Ways are my 8.
You're 8, okay?
Yes, and I only have 5 chocolate candies. And neither are my top 2.
Yeah, my top
Milky
3.
Way.
Or actually, well, I don't know, spoil. My next one is, where did it go? Oh, so I was very specific about my Tootsie Rolls. I do like the fruit flavored Tootsie Rolls.
Okay.
I enjoy those. That's next on my list. I enjoy a fruit flavored Tootsie Roll.
Like the vanillas?
No, not the vanillas. Like the fruity ones. So you've got.
Oh, yeah. I know. The little guys.
Yeah, the little guys that are.
Where you get them in the huge bag?
Yep.
The literal fruities. Okay.
I really enjoy those.
Reese's Pieces.
Ooh, okay.
That is my 7.
Reese's Pieces are solid. They're very solid. They didn't make my list. They were very close. Probably an honorable mention. Didn't make the list for me. My next one is, I really like a Kit Kat bar.
See, that is one candy that I just don't enjoy.
I
don't know why, but I just don't ever say, I'm going to buy a Kit Kat bar.
You're never like, break me off a piece of that football cream.
Nope.
Fancy feast. Chrysler car. No, I enjoy Kit Kat. I think I like the crunchy in the chocolate, kind of with the crunch bar.
Sure.
Same idea with the Kit Kat there. What's your next one?
I have Butterfinger.
Oh, Butterfinger didn't make my list.
Butterfinger is my 6. And then as a nice little surprise at 5, mini sweet tarts. Like the really small sweet tarts.
So I have one kind of in the sweet tart neighborhood coming up later. Higher on the list for me. My next one, I really enjoy Runts.
I can get down with Runts.
Runts are good.
I forget about Runts.
I do too, but they're pretty good.
They are good. That's kind of like the mini sweet tarts to me, though. Like, you probably would never have thought of mini sweet tarts, and I don't think I ever would have thought of Runts.
So
the banana Runts are so
elite.
Tasty.
The banana Runts are elite.
Only bananas?
See, I like some of the other flavors too. I like the bananas, but when my siblings were like divvying stuff up, I'd be like, hey, I'll take the oranges. I like the oranges a lot. Like, I'm all about the citrus. I'm a big fan. So with sweet tarts, when I was a kid, because I'm diabetic, when my blood sugar would go low, I would carry sweet tarts around with me. So I got a little sick of sweet tarts when I was younger. But
yeah, I can understand that.
My next one.
This is top 4 now.
Let's see where we're on the list
Here,
here.
give me your top 4 quickly so that we can get to this list I have for you.
Twix.
Okay, that's 4.
Yep. Smarties.
Smarties?
I love Smarties. What? I don't know why.
Let me just go buy you some sidewalk chalk.
I know it's a hot take. I love Smarties. Number 2, Nerds. I love Nerds.
What is happening?
Love Nerds. Number 1, I don't think this is controversial at all. Number 1, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. I love Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Okay.
Incredible.
Okay.
All right, top 4. Let's go.
Sour gummy worms at 4.
Okay, fair.
Milk Duds at 3.
No, I'm not.
Milk Duds are one of my favorite candies.
Out on Milk Duds.
Sour Patch Kids at 2.
I can get down with Sour Patch Kids.
And caramel apple lollipops at
those
1.
are terrible.
That is the
Get
best.
out of here.
The freaking
Those
best. Caramel apple lollipops take me home. Country roads.
Total trash.
Dude, those
are worse than blow pops.
Get out of here. Caramel apple lollipops are.
All right, what's your list real quick? What's
Jam. Okay, so in Nebraska, there's a list, 2023 most popular Halloween candy. Do you think you can name the top 3 or at least one of the top 3?
Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Not in
Sour
the top
Patch
3?
Kids is 1.
What?
Sour Patch Kids is Nebraska's favorite according to USA Today.
Ooh, what are the other 2 real quick?
Saltwater Taffy
Oh,
at 2.
Disgusting.
And Twix at 3. That's
I do love
Nebraska's top 3.
Actually, I don't mind saltwater taffy, but out of the hierarchy of candy. Come on, guys. Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7 coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
And my wife told me I'm a jerk because I yelled at Quentin and Tommy for high five, and she's like, "Oh, they're having fun." And I'm, just like, there was not too long ago, you guys were asking me about all the close losses, like, oh, the close losses. The close losses come from reacting instead of having a process. Like, this is what we do. We do this, and just do it even when you think it's stupid. So when I see Emmett and Jalen do that, I'm proud, because it's like, hey, they're just doing what we do, not making a decision. Should I do it now? Should I not do it then? And to me, like, we've gone from talking about close losses to ugly 31-14 wins. Now this could be a close loss this week, so we have to fight the fight of the process, and that's the process sounds so stupid, but it's just really just doing what we're supposed to do.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio as we wait for our friend Mike J. Schaefer from Husker 24/7 Sports. I want to tell you about our friends at the Warhorse Sportsbook. Andrew, I've got some exciting news for you.
Do you?
About the actually exciting news. Are you ready?
I'm already smiling because Ken brought up rock hard popcorn balls.
Oh, the popcorn balls are the worst.
I just lost it.
Just the worst.
Those were the things that instantly hit the trash can.
Yeah. Andrew was giving those away to charity faster than he could get them into his bag here. No, but our friends at Warhorse Sportsbook, you've known for a while. You can go down to the casino in Lincoln, place your bets.
Sure.
There's a place you can go in Omaha now to place your bets. Horseman's Park. Warhorse Sportsbook is now open at Horseman's Park in Omaha, 6303 Q Street.
Guys, breaking news.
Game changer here. We got you covered in Lincoln, at the casino. The casino in Omaha is being built, but until then, you can go to the Warhorse Sportsbook at Horseman's Park, 6303 Q Street
today.
In Lincoln. Total game changer. That's not that far from your house, man. That's right down the street.
I'm going today.
You are in good shape
and
there.
I like Sportsman's Park.
Yeah, Horseman's Park is great. It is.
Did I say Sportsman's
Yeah, you did.
Park?
It's okay. I knew what you
I was looking at Sportsbook on here.
Yeah, it's all right.
Horseman's Park.
So that is a super exciting development with our friends at the Warhorse Sportsbook. You can go, like I said, to Lincoln or to Horseman's Park in Omaha to place your wagers. It's the best place in Nebraska, regardless of which location you go to place your sports bets. You go to they've got plenty of kiosks, plenty of tellers. You can build your bets on the app, take it to one of those locations, scan the QR code, and place that bet in person. They've got straight bets, parlays, props, live in-game bets. All are accepted. Make sure you check out the Warhorse Casino app and warhorsecasino.com/sportsbook for all the details and a full list of house rules. Warhorse Sportsbook, no bets, no glory. Joining us now on that Warhorse Sportsbook hotline is our guy, Mike J. Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Schaefer, what's going on, man?
Oh, not a ton. I was listening to you talk about the Warhorse Sportsbook, and I was wondering, should I just go bet against the Vikings the rest of the year, every game?
I think you
just
should
bet against Jaron Hall or Nick Mullins.
Listen,
this is my life now.
I'm very familiar with the Nick Mullins experience from San Francisco, and I gotta say, you're not gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, I've spent a little bit too much time in the last 2 days just searching Colt McCoy Vikings on Twitter, just looking for the breadcrumbs, and that tells you where I'm at, because
That's where you're at
McCoy
mentally
is
and emotionally.
Yeah, I mean, Colt McCoy's an upgrade, so that's where we're at.
Shafe, what about Trey Lance? I kind of like the idea of Trey Lance.
Well, he's already been traded once. Like, if they had done that move earlier, then that obviously would set up where Trey Lance would be your guy. But I don't think anyone in Minnesota believed that he's destined to be anything more than sort of a gadget quarterback, and so they just stayed away from that one.
Shafe, we were talking before you came on here about our favorite Halloween candies. Quick hierarchy for you. How you feel? If you're a kid, you're in your Halloween bag. What are you most excited to see? What are you least excited to see?
I don't know that I liked it as much as a kid as I do as an adult now, but
Fair
Twix
enough.
has moved really high up the
I'm a big Twix guy. I am a big Twix guy.
It's moved high up the candy chart. I'm definitely more chocolate over like the Starburst Skittles stuff. I would give Skittles away to anyone. My brother was a big Skittles person, so we would. Part of the fun when you were young was orchestrating these trades after with your candy, like accumulating all of the candy that you like and giving away the ones that you don't. And so with that being said, I was good with a lot of this stuff. I mean, obviously didn't like the house where they were giving you the apple. Didn't appreciate the dentist house where they gave away the little floss in addition to giving you candy. Like, even at the age of like 7, you realize that they're guilting you into your decision making when they're giving you little tiny floss to go with it. They think it's cute and funny, but really what it is, it's horrifying. Nobody likes floss. Nobody likes to floss. Nobody likes to floss. So
no, it's rude. It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, mostly like any of the chocolates I was good with. Like I'm a fat guy. Like clearly, because it started when I was a kid.
You're just big boned, according to Cartman from South Park, right? No. So Shave, we'll keep it on the candy train here. If you were ranking the Big Ten West teams according to where they where they match up with candy, okay? Rank the Big Ten West teams for me with their partner candy.
Well, I don't know that any of them can be like elite candies, like they all have to be lower on the scale.
There's no Reese's peanut butter cup in the Big Ten West.
Yeah, I mean, there's no Reese's, there's no Twix, there's no Snickers. Like for me personally, the worst team probably in the Big Ten West is probably Purdue. It's hard. Like you go different directions there, but they would probably be the Almond Joy of the Big Ten West for me. I don't feel joy when I see the Almond Joy. And then like the more teams towards the top, like let's say you feel like Iowa is the best team in the Big Ten West. I'm not sure why you would, but let's say you feel that way. That's like a Three Musketeers. Like you can eat it. You're not like fired up to eat it, but it's there. Milky Way for like Wisconsin seems like that's a decent fit. It's just the lower end candies, if you will. Nebraska can be a Baby Ruth.
Ooh, okay. Baby Ruthie.
Yeah.
Baby Ruth. I'm not excited about that. Not one bit.
Nobody wants to be a Baby Ruth.
I'll try to be a Twix.
But does Baby Ruth ever win?
I'm just saying, like nobody in the Big Ten West gets to be a good candy bar. That's the rule.
I think that's fair. Schaefer, as we before we get into Nebraska, Michigan State, what have you made about this whole situation with Brian Ferentz in Iowa, the way it's played out? I mean, I think we all kind of assumed that there was an inevitable end to this relationship, but are you surprised at when or how it actually happened?
I am a little surprised that it's happened. I mean, he's been shielded from having to face legitimate criticism or legitimate, pushback against what has happened with Iowa's offense for not just like a year or two, but for quite some time. I mean, it's obvious that they don't have the answers to build an offense there. You can debate whether they have done a good job identifying talent and all of that, but clearly they're able to find these tight ends and develop them. It's just odd to me that they cannot figure out an offensive system in any way, shape, or form. Like how would you even describe Iowa's offense to somebody? Like it's not good, but that's not you like it's not like a West Coast offense. They're not really a battering ram, run it down. Like that's more Minnesota. Iowa is just this sort of weird kind of like 50-50, runs a couple plays, then decides to run a few other different, like, I just don't know how I would describe them. Like, they're just not, there's not any hallmarks to what they do other than they're not good at anything that they try for the most part. I mean, even just 5 years ago, 2019, it felt like there was a little bit more like power emphasis in that offense when they had Nate Stanley, and that was like a solid quarterback for him. But that's probably how far back you have to go to when they were at least okay on offense. They've been in the dredges of the NCAA, team rankings for a while now on offense, and it's not good.
Schaefer, Michigan State, also in that state of not good right now. They lost 5 in a row. They're dealing with an interim head coach. They put things on the scoreboard that shouldn't be on the scoreboard. There are just everything's going wrong with the Spartans. They don't even know what quarterback is starting for that team this week. So if you're Nebraska, how confident are you in just your overall game plan to know that this seems like the most likely week to get that 6th win and get into bowl eligibility?
Yeah, I sometimes I wondered if Rhule's comments reflect like how he wants to maintain their focus. Like, he was talking about how they didn't play as well against Purdue when he put the film back on. Some of that felt like messaging to the players like, hey, there's still a lot of work to do. You can still put your best game out there. There's a long way to go for us as a program and for you as a player. Like, some of it felt like that to me, because you have a week here where I don't know that anyone feels like Michigan State is going to show up and give an A-game effort on Saturday. I mean, they feel like a program that's quit or largely quit to me. Now it becomes a matter of individual players trying to do the best that they can for their own individual situations, while the collective just sort of struggles. And I think the dangerous part of that recipe, if you're a team like Nebraska, where, you can have a bad day offensively and ruin your chances of winning, like, you have to come out there with the same focus that you had for Purdue, for Northwestern, for Illinois. It can't flip because you feel like, okay, you're supposed to go win this game. And I think, Vegas and everyone else is sort of wondering, does Nebraska have the mentality that they could just go and show up and play? I mean, they've won their last 3 games by 13, 8, and 17, but they're only favored by a field goal right now at East Lansing. So there's some doubt. And I think Rhule would be wise to try to rein that focus and maintain it, because if Nebraska comes out and they play hard in the first quarter, Michigan State will go away fast. But if you don't come out and you don't play hard, you give them all the reason to come together as a team and rally against you, then I think Nebraska could lose that game too.
Schaefer, how much concern do you have that Nebraska doesn't come out focused in the way that they need to in order to win this game against Michigan State? Because I know in years past that's been a legitimate concern, and there's some of that I feel like that's residual with the fan base, but whether it's Illinois or Northwestern or Purdue, it seems like Nebraska's done a pretty good job of staying locked in against these so-called inferior or beatable opponents. I guess, what level of concern do you have that actually might be an issue?
It's wild. The only game this year where it started, where it felt like, okay, Nebraska's a little bit of slow coming out of the gates, was that Illinois game where they drove all the way down to like the half-inch line.
Yeah.
And then it felt like that stop basically just lifted Nebraska for the rest of the game. And the way it started, I even sent a text to another media member, and I was like, this does not look good. As Illinois is just marching through on that first possession. So I think for the most part, they've been able to just show up and play and meet the energy of a team. Obviously, Michigan went right down the field and scored. But I think they will show up at Michigan State, but I'm always get a little bit worried. And part of it is like, everything is relatively new for this group of Nebraska players. Like, managing success is new. Mm-hmm. Winning streaks of like 3 games is new for this program for quite some time. And so to be able to manage all of those expectations and weigh that against an opponent where, they hear stuff like they're supposed to win this game. They're supposed to be bowl eligible by 2:30 Central Time in Nebraska, and everyone's expecting that. And so they have to figure out how to guard against that kind of letdown, that kind of slow start, that kind of expectation as you've been winning, because that's the difficult thing about it. Like, you get in your head, you think you're going to go win this game, you show up, you don't play a good start, you allow Michigan State to hang in. So I think they will show up, and I don't know that this is going to be a huge problem, but I feel like it's a focus point for Matt Rhule early on in the week.
Schaefer, I know we complimented the open field tackling last week, but can we sing its praises one more time?
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, I asked Ravi last week, how does this defense go from good to elite? Are we seeing that take form quicker than expected with the addition of the takeaways from this past weekend?
I think we're seeing individual pieces continue to develop and grow as players as we're watching them in real time. I mean, obviously, Tommy Hill had the 2 interceptions, but I thought his play on that 2-point conversion to bat that away in what wasn't, the biggest part of the game, but if they get that, it becomes a 2-score game. It becomes a little bit more interesting, and he's able to bat that away, maintain it at a 3-score game rate. It's just a great diving effort. And like, those are the sort of individual moments, like seeing that out of him, seeing guys like, I feel like we see Jamari Butler, even if it's not necessarily resulting in sacks, some of the stuff that he is able to accomplish and do, and like, we're watching him develop as players. So I think some of the next step just occurs as natural development and reps and playing time happens for some of these guys. And then they can continue to get, good, solid play from seniors and from freshmen. I mean, wasn't it a combination of Van Poppel and Reimer that helped chase them out short of the yard to gain on the 4th down attempt there towards midfield? I mean, they're just getting guys that are making plays and doing it across, whether they're freshmen to seniors now. You're getting good development in game, in season, and they're catching teams at the right time. Like I wouldn't be surprised they have a great week against Michigan State. I wouldn't be surprised if they really cause issues for a Maryland team that doesn't look anywhere what we thought they were 3 weeks ago.
Schaefer, I want to change gears on you here a little bit and talk some recruiting, as there's been some developments. Obviously, big Nebraska commit Carlon Jones got an offer from Ohio State. How concerned are you about him and his commitment status to Nebraska?
I'm mildly concerned. I mean, he really likes Nebraska. He really likes Terrence Knighton. I think if he were to stick, it's partly because of that. Bryce Turner, a teammate of his, is up here, signed with last year's class. And I would think it would take a team like a Texas or, an Alabama or even an Ohio State to really put the doubt in there. And I mean, Larry Johnson is as good of a defensive line coach as there is in the country. Ohio State's one of the, 4 best programs in the country.
Yeah.
You could extend it out to 5 if you really want to argue, split hairs. They're at least in that 1.5 tier, I guess, if you will, if they're not quite in the 1 tier. So it's a huge opportunity. And what it tells me more than anything is people are starting to look at Nebraska's commitment list and seeing some guys that are maybe a little bit light in terms of the recruiting ranking, but the film tells them that these guys can play. And Carlon Jones is one of them. I mean, he's my favorite player in the class. If we're doing the Super 6 right now, that's my number 1. So Carlon Jones, really, really talented player. I get, Davis twins with maybe a little bit more upside from him, just the way that he is, kind of freakish athleticism. I think he'd be an interior guy. With the 3-3-5, he's probably playing a little bit of everywhere. But I'm not surprised that a bigger team came in. I'm a little surprised it's Ohio State. I've been expecting an A&M or a Texas offer more than I was expecting Ohio State on Monday night.
Schaefer, stick with recruiting here. How do you think Nebraska being a winning team at this point in the season impacts those recruits that have been on the fringe or a little borderline most of the year, like the Grant Brickses of the world?
Yeah, I don't know that it's a huge deal if you're 24s, because I think more than anything, they just wanted to see Matt Rhule's team in action. And now you get the win, so it kind of backs up a little bit of it. But at this point, a lot of the, let me use a farming analogy. A lot of the hay is in the barn already for the 2024 class. So there's probably not a lot that you're going to gain necessarily from that. Now, the transfer portal, being able to come back in mid-December, and you're talking to guys that are in the portal, and you can point to the fact that you go 7-5 or 8-4 in Matt Rhule's first year and did it with all of these backup players and a weird backdrop of circumstances and yada, yada, yada. I think that could be particularly effective because it looks like Nebraska's on the upswing. Same for 25s and 26s. I mean, they had several 25s in this last weekend, and you really want to start getting the ball rolling with that. They have guys like Alex Mansky that they would love to have as their quarterback commit that might be making a decision here in December. And if Nebraska goes 8-4 in their first year, and he already likes everything else about everything, and the quarterback room is relatively unresolved for a guy even in 2025 class,
sure,
that's a selling point. So there's a lot there for Nebraska.
Schaefer, another recruit committed this weekend in Jackson Lee, kind of an under the radar guy from Texas. You kind of look at his offer list, and it looks like a lot of the offer lists of some of the guys Nebraska has offered where there's a clear jump from where they had to the Nebraska offer. What do you know about Jackson Lee? And do guys like Carlon Jones kind of make you feel better about the evaluations where it's like, hey, we were just on this guy early and some other teams caught up?
Yeah, so part of it, I've always kind of felt like they must have some kind of secret sauce because they're on the front edge of a lot of recruits that end up picking up more offers, and they were down at Baylor. And so I'm not surprised that we're seeing that. I think a lot of it, to me, especially with Carlon Jones, is sometimes it just takes you have thousands of recruits around the country. You're not having, for Ohio State, if you don't have someone who knows the Bay City, Texas area, which is not a big city, you're going to probably miss on that until you got an analyst doubling back through Big Ten classes just to see what everybody else has. I'm guessing that's how they found it. So, I think it speaks to their evaluation skills. I think we're sort of seeing that throughout. And then you have a guy like Jackson Lee, who a lot like J.D. Crisp or Braylon Prude or Callan Barta or Landon Davidson or Jake Peters, all of these guys Nebraska's taking commitments from, and a couple of them have left the class. It's a bet on what they're seeing on film. This is senior film that they really like. This is kind of your Eric Fields guy of last year's class, who people are very excited about. He's one of those freshmen that hasn't completely hit his stride, but I think he's been a little banged up and his playing time's been a little hit or miss. But I think it's a lot like that. Great 40 time for a linebacker, 4.6, 4.5 sometimes. Good shuttle with a 4.4. He's just an explosive athlete, and I think they want to see what they can do, putting him in the second level and letting him run around. I mean, he's kind of like a Mekhi Bayer, if you will. When you're facing a team that's a little bit more spread-oriented, he can cover the slot receivers a little. He can help you with the running backs and the tight ends a lot. And so I think the athleticism is why they're taking the plunge on Jackson Lee.
Schaefer, let's go back to this roster, this team. Got about 2 minutes left. Based on what you've seen and what you heard from Coach Rhule yesterday, I think it's safe to say Emmett Johnson is the clear-cut RB1 going forward. But my question to you is, should he be treated as the workhorse and get more than 13 carries a game like we saw last game? Or can that even be possible with the offense that they run at Nebraska and your leading rusher be your quarterback?
Yeah, I don't know that they're going to do enough where it's just turn around, hand it off to Emmett Johnson. Like, I just think there's so many option plays in there that it's kind of dependent on what the quarterback makes decision-wise in the moment for those carries to really start to tally up. Now, if they change things and it just turns into a drop back, hand it off more, I think Emmett Johnson can have 20 carries in a game and be fine. I wouldn't go a whole lot more than that. I certainly wouldn't look for what we saw out of Minnesota with 40 carries for their number 5 or number 6 running back last weekend. So I don't think that's coming for Emmett Johnson, but I wouldn't be surprised if we could have 17 to 22 touches like that. That seems like a good range, and that should include receptions too. I'd like to see him get him going out of the backfield, throwing the ball, let him work in space a little bit.
Schaefer, get you out of here real quick on this as we look ahead to Michigan State this week. You mentioned just being focused and concentrated on Michigan State probably being the key for you. Is there anything on the field that you're looking for specifically as a key against Michigan State?
Not especially. I'd like to see the offense just come out and start to play clean. I mean, everybody would. Like, I guess so. Ball security would be something you would like to see. Take care of the ball. Let's see a game where you get out of there with less than, let's say less than 2 takeaway or turnovers. Excuse me, because that's been an issue for them. So I think ball security is one of those things. And then I'd like to see if they can develop some other sort of big plays that don't stem exactly from the option pass. I love the option pass. I hope it's there every week. But they've got to be able to find some other ways to get the ball down the field in the passing game that isn't specifically derived off the option.
That's Mike J. Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Schaefer, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Thanks for having me on.
You're the man.
Coming up next, we've got more for Hurrdat Sports Radio here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln.
I'm a huge fan of that pocket square.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln. We are brought to you by Big Brothers, Big Sisters, who are on a mission to support one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. Go to mentoromaha.org to sign up and become a big, or you can also donate money, donate tickets to events. You can invite them to your business, or you can sponsor upcoming Big Brothers, Big Sisters events as well. All of that you can find at mentoromaha.org. All right, so there's a topic that I've been thinking about for a little while now. That
outside of my Kool-Aid Man outfit?
Yeah, outside of that, which we finally got. And did you tweet it out?
I did tweet it out. If you want to go check it out, it's on my Twitter page at Andrew Rogers CC.
There you go. You love to see it.
Oh yeah, I look good.
Oh yeah. One of the things, this topic I've kind of been kicking around a little bit. I think I saw a TikTok about it, and it kind of got the wheels rolling in the old noodle for a little bit. And I was, we were talking about Josh McDaniels earlier, and I kind of asked, how does this guy keep getting shots, right? And it kind of tied back into this topic I'd been thinking about independently for a couple weeks now, about how certain coaches have been basically riding their entire career off of a reputation they've built with one player. And I feel like, you look at obviously with Tom Brady, the immediate is Bill Belichick, right? He struggled since he's left there, but I actually think Tom Brady qualifies for like 3 different coaches getting paid off of his success, because you got Belichick, who without Brady, I mean, who knows what it looks like if they keep Drew Bledsoe around. You know, they haven't always drafted super well at skill positions. You just don't know what that looks like. But also, he's gotten not just Bill Belichick paid. He's gotten Josh McDaniels paid.
Sure did.
He's gotten Matt Patricia paid. I'm trying to think. I think there were other. Was Romeo Crennel offense or I think he was defense. I think he was.
He's
the
gotten
defense.
people paid.
Yeah, but he's gotten at least minimum 3 head coaches paid. And it kind of got me thinking on what coaches have made their career the most off of just one guy. Because Tom Brady, I think, has made, like I said, at least 3 people's careers. And I asked you this question, and I was curious who you came up with.
So I wanted to go a little bit off the radar.
Sure.
Phil Jackson is an easy one.
Yeah, Phil Jackson with Jordan, right? Like he never gets, that's his whole career basically.
Yeah, he doesn't get that job in LA if
No,
it weren't for Michael
absolutely
Jordan.
not.
But so I got a couple of names here, and I can lean one way. I can also be convinced another way, saying that it's not based off one player, but even if it is like a couple of players,
yeah, sure,
it's still kind of like I think it falls into the same category.
Yeah.
The first one is Gene Chizik.
Cam Newton. Absolutely.
Is the one you think of.
Absolutely.
In that category. Gene does not get the job at North Carolina. Again, after taking his time off of Auburn.
Yeah.
If it weren't for what he did.
Yes.
With Auburn and Cam Newton.
And even if you look at his time at Auburn, he was nothing really outside of that Cam Newton year.
Correct.
You look at his time at Iowa State, he was very bad.
And now he's an assistant head coach at North Carolina. So he's under Mac Brown. He's the defensive coordinator there as well.
Yeah.
And this is somebody that got paid because of what he was able to do with Cam Newton.
Absolutely.
So Gene is the first one. The second one, and this one you may kind of like look at me sideways.
Okay.
John Calipari.
Is it Derrick Rose?
Derrick
Rose. Is that your guy?
Ooh. That is the one that I attached to John Calipari because that is all what precursed his time at Kentucky.
So I'm going to push back on Calipari for a couple reasons. First and foremost, because he made a Final Four with UMass with Marcus Camby before that.
He did. He absolutely
then he makes the final run with Memphis and Derrick Rose, and then he still has the big success at Kentucky, although it's faltered off a little bit there. The fact that he's done it at 3 different places and one of them was pre-Derrick Rose, I'm going to give – and listen, I'm not obsessed with Calipari. I'm not one of those people that think he's I think a lot of what he does is pretty rudimentary in terms of basketball coaching. I think he's very good at putting together rosters, or at least was before everybody started doing the one and done thing. But I think he's a very good recruiter. I think he does enough of the other stuff. But
so the reason I attached Derrick Rose to him is because all of the greatness of Calipari happened after Memphis. Like, yes, he had the buildup at UMass. Yes, he had his time in the NBA, and then he went to Memphis. But until like 2010, Calipari wasn't like doing big things across basketball as a whole. So I think he elevated because of his run with Derrick Rose in Memphis. Now, the stuff before may have added to it.
Yeah.
But would he have coached like the Dominican Republic national team if it weren't for his time at Memphis and his promotion at Kentucky? Probably not.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it was just the things that kind of followed.
So it certainly, I think Derrick Rose elevated him from the kind of where he was at to where he became at Kentucky. I think we have to give a little bit more credit to Marcus Camby UMass Final Four.
Okay, so say this is going to kind of be tough because I'm trying to walk back through the example. Say Shaka Smart is now the coach of the Phoenix Suns and takes the Phoenix Suns to, the NBA title game.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, no one's just going to be like, oh, Shaka Smart is crazy awesome because he took VCU to the Final Four. Like, that was awesome to see.
Sure.
That's kind of like how I connect the Calipari UMass thing a little bit. Now, he did have players. Like, there were some dogs on that team. But that's kind of like the connection I make with like it's kind of the off-the-radar team that just happens to do it. Like,
sure.
Who was the team that did it? Oh my God, the New York team with the kid that did the Buffalo Wings commercials, Buffalo Wild Wings commercial. What was that?
Who
team?
am I missing?
St. Peter's.
St. Peter's.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like you have those moments where like, yeah, that team like
Sure
does it, but like they don't do it all the time.
Right. I think the difference with Calipari is he did it with that team, kind of the one-off team, and then replicated that success other places. So to me, it's more like
fair enough.
So
Fair enough.
Yeah, to me, it's more like a Coach Rhule where he goes Temple, Baylor, hopefully Nebraska.
So would you say that Shaka Smart, if he does it in another place in college, that it wasn't made at that place?
I think,
it would have to be made at VCU.
I think you could make the argument.
Because he fell off at Texas.
He did. He struggled at Texas. I thought that was a bad fit for him. I thought that was honestly a money grab. I think Marquette's a much better fit for him, and you've already seen how much better they are.
Absolutely.
And they haven't made the Final Four run yet, and hopefully not this year. Knock on wood, don't want. But I do think there's like Texas was a bad fit for him, absolutely. But I think if he kind of replicates the VCU success at Marquette, then you can look at it and say, that's not a one-off, and that would make it closer to the Calipari situation.
Okay.
For me, the Calipari is the replicated success. Like here's a college basketball. Here's a college basketball example that.
But I'm trying. Other than Camby, is there another player outside of Derrick Rose?
I mean, you get to Kentucky and there's.
Well, yeah, now at Kentucky, but I'm saying like when you made your career off, because like Phil Jackson, when he got to LA, had like the best of the best with the Lakers. So I'm not even attributing what he's done at Kentucky. I'm doing the precursor to that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, they had obviously Derrick Rose was the crown jewel of that Memphis time.
And
but he had 3 or 4 guys on that Memphis Finals team that played in the NBA. I mean, that was a very quality roster.
Did Bill Walsh make his career off of Montana?
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Because, I mean, they went out at the same time. Before Montana was there, they were not good.
That's an interesting one. I hadn't thought about that one.
But so is that making your future off of a team or a player?
Yeah, that one's harder to tell because there was a lot of talent in San Francisco. A college basketball one,
and on both sides, of course, we know that.
Yeah, right? A college basketball one that I think goes to the point you're trying to make with Calipari is Dwayne Wade and Tom Crean at Marquette. Tom Crean's career after Dwayne Wade has been, I mean, kind of, he goes to Indiana, they're pretty disappointing. He goes to Georgia, and he lands Anthony Edwards, but it doesn't really change his trajectory or his career or anything like that. Georgia's pretty mediocre. That's one for college basketball that I think is more because Tom Crean really hasn't been successful to that level ever again, right? And if Calipari had either like done that one thing at UMass and never done it again, or even just done the one thing at Memphis and never done it again, I could totally see that as well. Another one, low-key, and I hate saying this because I love this guy, Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan. What is his career without Tim Duncan? They had some really nice players besides that, but
Tim Duncan was the man.
We really don't.
That's kind of how I feel like with Derrick Rose, like going back to Calipari. Like Rose was the man,
right? But Calipari's done it at other shops. Popovich has only ever coached the Spurs. That to me is what makes it a little different. All right, coming up next, we are going to talk to our guy Kirby Proctor from UNO, some Omaha Mavs hockey. That is coming up here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We are talking now on the Warhorse Sportsbook Hotline to Kirby Proctor of the Omaha Mavericks hockey team. Kirby, how are you this morning?
Good. How are you?
We are doing great. Hey, we really appreciate you joining us here. You've been in Omaha for a hot minute. You're a grad student now. Just how much of
calling him old, Ravi.
I mean, listen,
come on, man.
Not as old as me. I understand that. Kirby, how much have things changed in your time as you're in your fifth year here at Omaha?
I mean, for some things it's changed quite a lot, and then for others it's been remotely the same. I mean, obviously it's been quite a ride. We've had some pretty awesome moments as a group and as a team, and then we've also had some pretty big bumps in the road as well. So it's definitely been a roller coaster, but I think it's definitely developed me a lot as a person.
Curbs, take us through your thoughts on the Ohio State series. And even though it didn't go Omaha's way either night, the team still escaped with a draw on Friday night and a ton of high caliber experience going into the NCHC schedule now.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big weekend, and even though the results weren't quite there, I think the process was with our group. So I think definitely another stepping stone. Obviously, you would have loved to come away with a win on that weekend. I think we definitely deserved to win on Friday, and then Saturday was a bit of a tough one. But again, analytically, we looked good. So I think that's definitely like a stepping stone, and also lights a little fire under our group for what's to come here in the future.
Now, Curbs, I was running around like a madman that day, and I think I'm gonna lean over 50% when I ask this. I think your parents were in the seats on Parents' Night, were they not?
Yeah, they made the trip.
Yeah, how was that? How was that having them there?
It's special. I mean, obviously being from Canada, they don't get out too often, so to have them be able to be there on just any weekend, and then to have them be there and lucky enough to score a goal in front of them too is something that was pretty special for me personally.
Kirby, when you have a weekend like you did against Ohio State, where you thought you deserved the win on Friday, end up with a tie there, obviously don't get the result you want on Saturday. What are some of the ways that you are able to learn from that and move on without that letting stick with you too much?
I mean, we go over it, right? Like as a group, we go over that sort of stuff and we talk about it. And I mean, you definitely want it to sit with you just for a minute, I think, just to let you know what it feels like and probably something you want to avoid in the future. But yeah, I think with our group, it's just like about continual growth. And that's what we've talked about a lot since the start of the year is we're going to be one of the best teams at getting better. So that's what we're going for.
Curbs, one area of improvement just by looking up and down the stat sheet is the power play. Just 2 for 21 on the season right now. Has that been a point of emphasis in practice at all this week? And how does a team truly get better on the power play?
Again, I think our group's got some really good looks. Sometimes it just doesn't go in the net. So, I mean, I'm trusting in those group of guys to continue to improve in that area, and I'm sure it's going to come. But in terms of focusing on it, I mean, we put quite a bit of emphasis on special teams. We know in our conference it's a very important battle to win in a weekend series. So we're going to keep kind of pounding the rock in that aspect, and we're going to keep growing, and we're going to get better there.
Kirby, how'd you feel after starting the season off a couple weeks ago against Niagara about having that break so early in the season before you faced Ohio State?
There's definitely good and bad to it. I mean, obviously with limitations with how long the coaches can be out early in the season and at the start of the school year and all that stuff is really good to go through a lot of conceptual stuff and work through that. But obviously games played are valuable too. They're obviously a big tool for learning, and luckily our group's pretty experienced in that already. So I didn't hate it. Obviously the results didn't come with that the way we were expecting, but definitely not a bad thing to keep growing.
Curbs, I asked about the PP. How about the PK now? 21% a season ago, 18% the year before, 14% the year before that. This season, no goals allowed through 4 games. Your thoughts on the defensive unit when a man down and what makes the PK so strong?
Yeah, I think our PK guys are strong, and then just we're allowed to make reads. We've been given the ability to kind of play a little bit and really use our brains and try and dissect what we're doing a little more. And I think that's helped a lot with the understanding of it for our group. So I think that's been a big aspect as to the success there.
We're talking with Kirby Proctor, defenseman for the Omaha Mavericks hockey team. All right, Kirby, we're going to get to the important hard-hitting stuff now. It's Halloween. We've been talking a lot about Halloween candy. As when you're a kid, you're out trick-or-treating, you get home. What's your favorite thing to see when you pour out that candy bag?
Oh, man. We were talking about this the other day in the locker room. We were always talking about the best bag back home in Canada. There's a couple that they don't even have here, but they're basically like M&Ms, but they're called Smarties. There's those Aero bars and like a Hershey bar and then like a Reese's peanut butter cup in one bag, and that was the best bag to have.
Wow.
Okay, and then let's say you're going through your candy. What are you most disappointed to see in your candy bag?
I'm not a candy corn guy.
Good for you, man. I
answer.
knew we were on the same
That's
page.
a terrific
like,
answer.
We're locked in just fully. Like Curbs and I, just one and the same.
We're gonna stay on Halloween here for a second, Kirby. Do you have a favorite Halloween costume that you've ever worn?
Oh man, I was probably the Red Power Ranger for like 6 years. Or by the time I was wearing it in the latter years, it probably didn't even fit anymore, and I just keep squeezing myself into it.
Curbs, it's okay to say that you were a pink guy. You don't have to just change it to red for us. Hey, real fast. because I'm thinking about one of the top lines for this team, the Mueller, Randall, and Miller line, and how they got going against Western Michigan last year. I mean, they were able to get into the points column pretty well in that series. Haven't been able to this year yet, and I'm wondering if something happened, behind the scenes. Are they putting too much creamer in their coffee like Jimmy Glenn, or, has something changed in their routine? How do they get back on schedule?
Yeah, again, I mean, very similar to our group as a collective. It's like they're doing the right things. Like watching them in practice is impressive, and like those are the guys that as a defenseman, like you want to go against to get better, because those guys make you better. But again, it's like those little things in the game, like there's so many looks where it's like, oh, that could have been a goal kind of thing. So I think for those guys, it'll come with time, and they're going to put in the work to do it. Like you can just see it in them, even on like a Monday practice. Like they're not messing around. They come to work. So they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, whether it's this weekend or next weekend or down the road. That's what they do. So they'll be good.
Curbs. So, being an athlete, you come into the arena, you have your fit game on point. That's just kind of what you do. As you look around your locker room and you think Halloween, who has the best costume prepared for tonight?
Oh man, that's a great question. Victor Mancini's always cooking up something. He's usually pretty good. Flippy usually finds something that's pretty funny as well. I think low-key a Jack Randall could pull out an unbelievable costume.
Oh, what do you think? What do you think Jack has in store?
That's the best thing about him, is you have no idea.
You can't even predict.
No, you couldn't guess it.
Kirby, can you give us a little hint? Do you have a little costume plan for today?
I was actually thinking about going Shaggy and Scooby-Doo with Nolan Sullivan.
Okay. Who would you be?
I would be Shaggy.
Yeah, that would make a ton of sense. Sully's the dog. I'll say I've got some big dogs if you need to borrow one for trick-or-treating to walk around as Shaggy. Side note, if Sully really needs a hand-me-down outfit, he's already got the stash on point. He can just borrow my Ted Lasso gear. I cannot pull off a mustache, but I am wearing a Ted Lasso jacket right now. Hey, Kirby, as we focus our attention to this weekend, you got Western Michigan coming into town to Baxter. What are some of the challenges that Western Michigan poses for you?
I know, like in the past, they've just been a fast team. Like they play a quick and hard game. They play a man game similar to us, I think. So I think that's going to be a good test kind of thing, kind of go strength against strength in that aspect. So that'll be exciting. But yeah, I mean, they're a good program, so they bring a lot to the table. But I mean, like I've been saying all year, I believe that our group brings a lot to the table as well.
Curbs, got a minute and a half here. We'll get you out of here on this. As Ravi kicked it off, you're in your final season. Just end this by telling us how special your time in Omaha has been and what you're hoping to get out of your final season.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of how special it was, I mean, there's a reason why I chose to come back for a fifth year. I love this place, so I'm excited for what it has to hold. And then, I mean, by the end of it, you never really know. I'm kind of trying to take it one day at a time for the most part, as cheesy as that answer is. But just enjoying it every day, not really looking too far into the future, and just enjoying my time with my teammates and my friends who have been here with for so long, and really just soaking it all in.
Kirby, we appreciate your time. Good luck this weekend. And, hey, maybe get another goal like you did against Ohio State. I wouldn't be mad about that. See you Friday, man.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys.
That's Kirby Proctor, defenseman for your Omaha Mavericks hockey team. Not only is he your favorite defenseman out there, people, he may even be your favorite character on Super Smash Brothers. Who knows? Big Kirby guy, are you? They face Western Michigan Friday and Saturday, 7:07 p.m. First puck drop at Baxter Arena on both of those nights. Make sure you go check out our friends at Baxter. Come see me. Arena. Go see Andrew. Make some noise. MC thing as well. That's the show for today. We will be back tomorrow here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.